Thank you.
All right, we're ready. Good morning. Welcome to the public board meeting of May 28th, 2025. I'm calling this meeting to order at 10:02 a.m. I would like to now ask Trustee Pequin to provide the land acknowledgement.
Sturgeon Public Schools respectfully acknowledges that we teach, learn, and grow together on Treaty 6 territory and homeland of the Métis. We honor and respect the history, languages, ceremonies, and cultures of the First Nations, Inuit, Métis, and Métis people who have called this land home for countless generations. We recognize the Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, Dene, Nakota Sioux, and Inuit for their care, love, and stewardship of this place. We are grateful for those who share their knowledge with us and help to foster a respectful relationship with all of our relatives on this land. We are committed to understanding the harms done in the name of education and continuing to learn to honor the true spirit of Treaty 6 as a promise of friendship, collaboration, and peaceful alliance.
Thank you very much. Agenda is presented. Any additions, deletions, omissions? Can I get an approval of the agenda? Thank you, Trustee Marie Elliott. All in favor? Approved unanimously. Thank you. Minutes for the regular board meeting of April 23rd, 2025, available in your package. Can I get an approval of the minutes? Trustee Buga, thank you very much. All in favor? Carried unanimously. The minutes of the special board meeting of May 7th, 2025, also available in the package. Can I receive or ask for an approval of the minutes? Trustee Pequin, all in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. No business arising from the meeting or from the minutes rather. Number 6, presentations and delegations. 6.1, student panel Indigenous gathering. Superintendent Warren.
Thank you, Chair. Shauna Warren, Superintendent. First of all, I want to say thank you to all of you and to the team for organizing this. The Indigenous gathering, when you guys spoke, it was organized last minute, and myself being there, I didn't know what to expect. And after you presented, I mean, what's our job? Students, that's our job. And when you were saying you feel seen and you feel heard, and you make Mr. Cripps cry because you're feeling that way, our board needs to hear that because your voices matter. And so thank you. And thank you to the team. I know this was short notice, and I know even coming together for the Indigenous gathering was short. I will turn it over to the team to do introductions, but we are very honored to have you here. Thank you so much. And I know it's a very busy time because exams are coming up. So I just want to say thank you.
There. Yeah, so it should capture your voices just like that, I believe. Okay, thank you so much for having us and for inviting us to speak with you today. As you mentioned, we had the opportunity to present at the College of Alberta Superintendent Symposium around Indigenous education. And they wanted to bring together a keynote panel of youth, and they reached out to Sturgeon, knowing that we perhaps had some students whose voices were worthy to be heard in front of an audience of around 1,000 people. The students came together with the support of Andrea Dielstra, Daniel Lehman, and were able to share their voices in a way that was so compelling to the audience. They received a roaring standing ovation, the likes I haven't seen in real life. It was like out of a movie, and we couldn't be more proud of the students for sharing their voices. So our goal today is just to replicate that panel for you today. So, imagine that we were on a grand stage and there's a sea of folks out there, and I very nervously was called up to introduce the students. So I will do that as well today. It's my honor to introduce you to Ava Sanderson. She's Mohawk from Six Nations Grand River Reserve in Ontario. She's a grade 12 student at Sturgeon Composite, as are the rest of the students, and she is an active participant in Chiefing Council, the student-led Indigenous group at the school. She's planning to attend Grant MacEwan for a Bachelor of Social Work next year so that she can have a future helping Indigenous students navigate schooling and personal life and live holistically, healthy legs. Keegan Patagan is from Onion Lake First Nation in Saskatchewan. He has been doing relay racing for 5 years and is part ownership of Majestic Starlight, which is a team racing outfit. Horses are his passion and what he lives and breathes. He is planning to take time after school to focus on horse racing. And in 2 weeks, his team has an opportunity to qualify for the Calgary Stampede, which would be a lifelong aspiration. So we sort of have like a superstar. Tori Arkant is a grade 12 student at Sturgeon Composite. She will graduate this year, but has already earned her diploma. She's from Alexander First Nation and here in Treaty 6. Tori has played hockey growing up and is very connected to family and friends. She likes to paint. And she's active in cosmetology and likes to watch movies for fun. After school, Tori plans to go to either Concordia University or Blue Quills University to be a teacher to fulfill her dream of helping students. And finally, we have Brady Nanuch. He is also in grade 12. He's from the community of John Doerr, which is part of Little Red River Cree Nation in Treaty 8. And he currently resides just north of Bonacourt. He loves to sing and is very culturally connected. Brady plans to help Indigenous people as a counselor and positive role model and continue working in culturally relevant healing, which he already does today. I'm hoping that we could start off in a good way and invite Brady to share a song. I'd like to offer you this tobacco and ask you to please sing for us.
All right. I'm gonna throw this comment.
Your musical next.
Hello, everybody. Good
Hello.
morning.
Good morning.
I'm gonna sing 2 songs here. This first song is a song from my uncle Jason. He is allowing me to sing this. There's words that go to it, but I don't know words. I'm gonna just sing it straight. But then the second song, I'm gonna sing the same one that I did at the conference. Thank you. Listen to the drum as it goes to the sky. Makes you want to laugh, makes you cry. This is what we're given. That's what makes it special. We are First Nation. Oi, oi, oi. Yeah, oi, oi, yeah, Listen to the drum as it goes to the sky. Makes you want to laugh, makes you cry. This is what we're given. That's what makes it special. We are First Nation. Oi, 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 oi.
So we'd like to take some time now to hear from each of the students individually. Ava, would you start us off? Yeah, a little bit closer would be great.
Please. Hi, I am Ava Sanderson and I am Mohawk from the Six Nation Grand River Reserve in Ontario. I play football and rugby. I played football for numerous years, but I am team captain this year of my girls team, and this is my first year playing rugby. I moved here about 2 years ago from BC, and in BC we had like a chief and council, what we did there anyways. We did events and leadership groups, and a lot of it was collaborating together with different schools, but also parents and guardians, I guess, that would collaborate together and they'd meet new people and we'd build our community like that. Our school now, we have done a couple events within our chief and council, where last year we had Mr. Valier, one of the teachers now at our school. He was the representative that I would most likely talk to about it. And we did a couple different events through that with Red Dress Day, Orange Shirt, Indigenous Peoples Day. Indigenous Peoples Day was a really great one. We had a whole bunch of people come together from different schools. And then our schools was the one that like set up all the events and volunteered and worked together. And it was really great having everyone come together and work together to create something that everyone was smiling and laughing and enjoying. And having food was really great. In our school now, we have my mom working there, which is really great. I love having her there. And our room it's improved so much compared to what it was last year, and the amount of people that are in there and the laughing and talking and togetherness, where like I wouldn't have met these people if we didn't have a room now. And it's not just like we talk here and there either. He's figured me out. When I'm in a bad mood, he buys me a brownie. It's really great. Or we help with homework. If there's someone struggling, we work together to help better everyone. Where me being in grade 12, I try and help out as much as I can because there is only one person in there. It's come a long way to where it was last year and seeing it now and having everyone work together to make the activities and make the groups and make like it's really amazing to see it come from where it was last year compared to this year. Personally, I'd like to have more events with like more parents and more feeder school involvement and having them to come together and create the connections. So when they come to high school, it's less scary because we've all been there. And yeah, I really like to do that, having the connections. Um, After I graduate, I want to go to McEwen, hopefully, but so I can help the kids that need it the most, especially with school, because school can be super challenging, and having the support and someone there to consistently push you and help you in like the best ways possible, um, really helps. Or just offer a hug. Sometimes a hug is really great. Um, yeah, last year we did I think with me and a different kid. He graduated, unfortunately. It was really great. But we had a different feeder schools all come together. We did once at our school and once at Four Winds. At Four Winds, we all sat in a giant circle and talked, and it was really great meeting them and having the familiar face for them to come up with me anyways, and then having them come up to Chief and Council this year. Um, it was nice to have that connection with them anyways. They Yeah, and what they did in their school, we talked about that and gave them ideas so they could have more leadership involvement in their schools as well with events or just posters in general or their rooms, or I think some of them had rooms. But yeah, that was really great. Yay.
Hey, next we'll hear from Keegan.
Hi, I'm Keegan Patagan from Onion Lake, Saskatchewan. I'm sorry if I stutter or mess up my words, but that my mom always said that I should never feel bad about not being able to speak English because it's a borrowed language. And my goal is to graduate high school and make my mom proud, because that's something my family has been having trouble with. So I would like to graduate and make her proud. And as she said, I run Majestic Starlight Indian Relay, and I'm the catcher, and it's kind of like a son and father bond that I have on that team. And yeah, I'm looking forward to compete in Grand Prairie and try qualify for Calgary Stampede. I'm very excited for that. I've experienced struggles in my past previous schools with getting in trouble with being in the wrong groups. That's the one reason I moved up here, because I was having trouble in my old school. So I moved up here with my dad. It was the last straw with my principal because I was in the wrong group doing wrong stuff. And then moved up here, and the school really helped a lot. But the first year I came, I experienced some racism with other people. There's this time when I was walking, and I would always get harassed by this kid in school. I don't want to say his name, just keep it anonymous. And I was walking with my girlfriend MJ, and then I was having a bad day that day, and then he was harassing me all the time. Then when I had MJ with me, I was walking, and he said something to me like I forget what he said, but he said something along like "you damn effing Indians," and that really triggered me, got me mad, because it just made me feel like I didn't belong here. It just really hurt. So I was gonna fight that kid. I turned around, I was gonna swing, but then he took off running. And then I had my backpack, but I ran, and then my backpack tripped me when I was running. And then I took that as a sign not to get into fights and resolve it in a better way. So I just thank the creator every day that I didn't hurt that kid. But yeah, that's my experience. And Compton High School just been a better experience, a lot of opportunities to do, and makes me feel like home. I'm having a rough time at home, I can just go to school and relax, do my work, And then we have a room. I don't know how to say the name, but it's for what's it called? Living room in Cree? Yeah, living room in Cree. It's just my comfort space. Everybody's comfort space to go when they're not feeling good. And Andrea really helped me out a lot with my work and mentally by just being there. Even with all these guys too. Ava especially, because she's always there working. So yeah, I have somebody to talk to. Yeah, just a pretty nice space to be. It's my comfort space. It helped me a lot. But yeah, school's been difficult before I came here. I've been struggling moving back and forth. And with COVID, I didn't even go to school or did any schoolwork. So I was so way behind in school. And even before that, I kind of dropped out. I didn't even want to go to school no more. So I would live at I used to go live at my late grandma's house. 'Cause, that was like my comfort space to go because I could have done whatever I wanted there. Not bad things though. Just like I'm a nice kid. I never drank before. Yeah, I'm really passionate with horses. I've been with them around my life. Me and my dad is known in our community for being horse whisperers. Me and him train horses together, just try to bond. But it's been rough lately because he's been doing pool tournaments, right? So less and less time with him. So I've been working with my horses recently. Recently, my horse got hurt right on the track. So I've been doctoring him. So it's kind of hard balancing horses with school, but I'm trying. But that's where Andrea comes in and helps me. Tells me if I drop out, she's gonna come get me. So I'm like, well, that's not a choice. And I'm gonna miss these guys next year because I'm in grade 11. So these guys ain't gonna be with me next year. But that's gonna give me an opportunity to step up and help the younger generations. And I'm very happy for that. Uh, uh, yeah. But there's also one thing I want to tell you guys. I lied about dropping out like before grade 10 just because I thought it was cool and see how long I could see how long you guys would believe that for. It's just that I started school 1 year, one year late. So yeah, but missing all that school really was hard to try to be in school. And right now it's still difficult for me. And I wanna participate in all these things that the indigenous students do, but then I don't get that opportunity because I'm in these other classes and I feel way left behind. But I'm pushing through. I'm just trying to get through with school, trying to make my family proud. My dad's been proud of me real lots because he never got that opportunity to go to school and graduate because he lived on a farm with not a supportive family. So I'm happy I get this opportunity to be able to graduate. Just not with this guy though. So I just want to say thank you for letting me speak. That's it.
Hi, my name's Tori. I'm from Alexander First Nation, just over there. I lived there my whole life. Um, the last few years, it took me a long time to figure out what I wanted to be when I was older. And I know I like helping people and I loved kids and I wanted to make a difference. And I found teaching and I figured that it'd be fun to try. And so I wanted to go either back to my First Nation, Alexander, or a different community to give back to the kids because I know that um, I've seen firsthand how kids are treated in the school system in Indigenous schools, and they're not as valued as mainstream schools. For example, my best friend, she came to Camilla in grade 2, and when I first met her, she could barely read three word sentences in grade 2. And then so once she got to Camilla, they started working with her, and now she's caught up now. But when she first came, she was far behind and was struggling a lot. And I don't want kids to be like that. I want to help them and make a difference for the next generation. And yeah, with that, I throughout school, I realized that with assignments, it's harder for kids to show what they know because like there'll be one big assignment or like one big unit test for like math for 9 or 10 lessons, and a kid could know like 1 to 5 of those lessons, but the other ones they're not good at. But on that test, it only shows 50%. It doesn't show what they need to improve at or what they need help with. If assignments were breaking down more into like each like lesson or like integers just to see where the kids are at and see what's going on with them, I feel like it would help them a lot and just give them more support and feel a lot more seen if they know that like this one test they did bad on, they need to work on that. And the teachers could see that because there's only one teacher for 30 kids. That's a lot of work. It's a lot. But these kids, they need extra support, especially Indigenous students. They need more help, extra support because our brains are wired differently. We don't think the same way as um, other kids do. Yeah. And something that I wish I had when I was younger was being more culturally active. I only started attending cultural events and like powwows, round dances, and feasts a few years ago. My cookum my cookum was able to understand Cree, but she wasn't able to speak it due to residential schools and assimilation. But my chopon, she was only able to speak Cree. So I had that language barrier with her, and I couldn't really talk to my chopon. She was able to understand me, but I couldn't talk to her. And my grandma, like she was able to understand it, but she couldn't speak it. So it was just like difficult growing up that I didn't have a lot of culture. And but as I grew up, I started to realize that I could like immerse myself. I don't need my family to push me. I could just do it myself. And I started getting more connected. And that's when I started to realize like I want to work in Alexander or a First Nation school to learn more about my culture and help the kids learn more. Yeah, I think that's it.
Hello.
It's great.
Good morning, the Board of Trustees. My name is Brady Nanuch. Yeah, I'm from Little Red River Cree Nation. I've been on stage for about a year. This is my page, eh? I just wanted to show you guys. But today I'm gonna be speaking right from the heart, and I feel like it's needed. So how my story began was I was born, my mom gave birth to me, but then I got adopted by a teacher and my dad over there. Oh, this is my dad, everybody. But so after that happened, we moved to Ochi's First Nation, and she was a principal over there, I think, or she was a worker. She was just a teacher, maybe. Anyways, that's how it was for the first 15, 16 years of my life. I lived with my mom. She's white. And her name is Lara Jollymore. She's a principal in Drayton Valley right now. But I get to understand a little bit of both worlds. And yeah, now today, okay, so I moved out of my mom's. I was having issues, and so I made the decision to move. And then I was having issues with my dad, so I decided to move. And where Keegan stays and I stay, it's called Lions Heart Wellness Center. It's north of Bonaccord, 10 minutes. Lily Lake Resort. I've been working there for coming up on 2 years now. But yeah, ever since from being on my own, being independent, more independent, you know. I've learned a lot of things, a lot more than what I think I would have learned with both of my parents. But yeah, you know, today I'm like I try to be pretty cultural, try to keep in touch with the culture, but it's hard, you know. It's hard living in both worlds and you know, being around completely different people, you know, white people and brown people. But you know, I make it work. I make it work. Oh yeah, it's good. I love I love sturgeon. Oh yeah, I love sturge. It's amazing. For me anyways. I know some people don't like it, but I love being at Sturge. You know, just like Keegan said, it's like being at home. You know, um, my friends are over there. All these guys are over there. Oh my God, I love it so much. But yeah, you know, I just want to say thank you to the Board of Trustees for letting us come out today. And yeah, are we ready for some questions?
Okay, I'm going to open it up to anybody. Oh,
She has questions.
oh, you have the questions. Fantastic. That's even better. Absolutely. Please continue, Ms. Requa.
I was thinking, Tori, there might be something else you might like to add. Is there something else that you wanted to talk about?
Oh yeah, for the support. Lots of these kids, like Indigenous kids, they have rough home lives, and a lot of people don't know what they go through, and sometimes they don't get the support or the push they need to do schoolwork. So like teachers and extra support or any of those things can give them the push they need. Because if kids don't feel like the pressure, just like reassurance or support, then they don't feel the need to try. And I think that just having some more support will help. And it only takes one teacher to make a difference in a kid's life. And yeah, that's it.
Keegan, I wondered if you'd talk to us a little bit about the relationships between teachers and students and what advice you might have for building relationships.
I think that teachers should take the time to get to know the students, and like she said, that they don't know what the kids go through at home. Because in the past, you guys know how it is with residential school and all that, and that still scars our families and all that. So, and some of our gukums and mushrooms don't know how to express that and don't know how to talk about it, and so they might take it out on us or like family members, and uh, and that really mess with our brains. And when we go to school, well, most of the kids always just like say that they're tired, don't want to do work, and it's not because they're really tired. It's because they're hurt inside and they have nobody to express it to, and they just need to. You know that saying where you can break the chain. That's what we need to start doing and talk about teaching kids that and helping just build more relationships to make the kids help express themselves instead of letting them be sad and just letting them stay there and not talking to them, not giving them the support. Because my dad's kind of like that. He had a rough past, and sometimes he would try to get mad. But I know that that's not really him because he's just mad and sad because what happened in his past life. So whenever he gets mad, I just talk to him, help him express his feelings. Just a lot of kids need to learn just to express their feelings and have that connection with teacher, like how all of us have a connection and Andrea. just talked to her and let out our feelings. I think the teachers should know our culture and learn how we grew up and all that. So they wouldn't do anything that would trigger us in the class, get us mad. Because I've seen that happen a lot. All these Indigenous students that get mad is usually because a teacher triggered them and not knowing like what happened or not getting to know the student. So yeah.
Brady, would you have any ideas on how we could incorporate more culture into schools?
How we can incorporate more culture in the schools. Oh, the Indigenous room is really awesome. Oh yeah. Um, I don't know. I've honestly thought about that last night. I've been thinking about this, but I don't really know because from what I see with the Indigenous students at school, is that some of them they don't like to express their culture. You know, they don't. It's like to a point, it's almost embarrassing. Some people might get made fun of, but yeah, the Indigenous stream is amazing, and I just want to touch on some residential school stuff too, like Keegan was saying, because it has affected our people so much. It corrupted our people, and the ceremonies too, especially. Stumbling on my words here.
Wondered if we could finish with Ava sharing a poem that she has written.
Queens. This poem that I'm going to share is about my grandma, and I wrote it in BC, and I really hope you like it. The Highway of Tears. Over 700 kilometers of highway littered with the DNA of our Indigenous sisters. Bodies dumped like trash to be forgotten. Mothers, daughters, sisters, and aunts, the victims have a theme. Vulnerable Indigenous women. No one cares about them anyways. Miles of empty highway, no one to hear their scream. Poverty-stricken communities. No money for a car. Women just trying to find a new life. Some desperate enough to trust a stranger. Hitchhiking's the risky choice. Indigenous women are 4 times more likely to go missing. We talk of these women being murdered, but no one will listen to our voice. Some bodies found, some forgotten, all had families mourning their absence. An ongoing, unspoken problem. The residential school system started this issue, setting an example, showing it's okay to treat them poorly. No one willing to help them. Everyone knew what was happening, but they were savages to be tamed, given a bad name, cut their hair and punish them for speaking their own tongue. Not worthy of humanity. Kill the Indian in the child. An ongoing, unspoken problem. Robert Pickton, a monster, fed on the weakest, most vulnerable women, killing for 20 years despite rumors and stories. Did the police think he was cleaning up the streets? Or maybe they told themselves that for ease. All the women, lost, broken souls, fighting inner traumas. Weak from addiction, poverty, and racism. An easy target, unwanted but no permanent homes, homeless, she roams. Just looking for a warm place to stay the night. They didn't expect to have to fight. He claimed to have killed 49 women. How'd this happen? How'd this go on for so long? Does no one care about the missing and murdered Indigenous women? An ongoing, unspoken problem. A grandmother stolen, only seen in pictures on the walls. Memories and moments lost. To know what we could have had, the laughs we should have shared, the songs we would have sung, the dance we could have danced, the smiles I wish we shared. To know the memories we should have made. What were you like? What did we have in common? Voice, hair, eyes, smile, personality. I wish I could have met you. I wish we could have talked. I want to hear your voice. I mourn the hug I never got. I wish you were still here, rather than this red dress hung in memory, an ongoing, unspoken problem. Women, girls, and two-spirited alike, an unfortunate statistic, 4 times more likely. The red dress hung to represent a life loss, a sea of red dress reminders. Never forget the stolen sisters. We must fix the sad statistics. an ongoing unspoken problem.
Sorry, Brady, can I put you on the spot only because I was
Yeah.
there?
You can.
Could you please share your story as to when you were speaking to your principal at the gathering as to what made the difference and where you came from and how you're there? Because I already saw somebody with Kleenex, but if you would be willing to share that, because I know for this board, this is,
Yeah,
it's about
sure.
connection.
I'm pretty sure most of you know Mr. Cripps. Good guy. But I went to his office one day and we were talking and that's it. Oh, I asked him, how much of a change has there been in the stage since you've been working there? And he said, massive. He said, it's changing every year. And we kind of talked about what would help with Indigenous students, with the students overall. And what we come to is that the teachers and if there's like cultural practitioners there, is just to, I guess, keep up with the changing pace, you know, because you said it's not the same at all. And to adapt to, you know, students, different kind of students. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, that's honestly what I believe too. He made a really good point by saying that because, you know, there was a point in time we were all in residential school, which kind of sucks. And, you know, today it's like, I'm here. I'm here talking to the board of trustees for the school, you know? Yeah. That's it. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what is wrong with me today. I'm either hungry or something. But yeah.
There's no better message of hope than hearing from the voices of you young people. And like, there's so much to take away from your perspectives, and we're so grateful that you've been brave enough to share today. We'd love to have some questions if there's time.
Okay, now it's my turn to ask. Trustee Dwyer, turn on your microphone and you're good to go.
Hi, guys, and it's really good to meet you today. I've had through coaching hockey a lot of kids out of Alexander. I've coached many for 22 years. I've always had probably a half a team of are Indigenous and white, as you call them. In the last 3 to 4 years, Indigenous culture has been in front of us in some way or fashion. It's being more and more and more. My question to you guys is it changing? Is there a change to acceptance? Maybe that's the right word. Does that mean something to you, what I'm asking? I just wonder if you could comment on that. Like the awareness is there. It's just, is it really changing anything?
I've noticed the last few years, Indigenous people are starting to get more recognition, and people are starting to realize like just fully what residential schools had like impacted, and like even like the government apologizing the last couple of years. It's definitely pushed us forward in like our culture. It's made us feel more like connected and heard and seen in Canada, because for so long we were just like thrown to the side, murder Indigenous women. Like there was not much going on with us until people started to really look at us and started to realize that there's more to our culture and there's more to us. And yeah, I think that it started to change. It's slowly changing. There's still lots to go, lots to get done, but it's definitely made a difference the last few years.
And just the confidence you showed in singing that song and standing up by yourself in front of a group like this and sing, that's huge confidence. And I'm seeing that in a lot of the people I've coached. I see them at Boss Pizza and it's like, sit down, Joe, and we talk, you know, as families and all that. So I see a difference, but I just wondered from you if the differences start to happen. Thank you for your answer.
Trustee Gibbons? Oh, sorry.
Sure.
Oh, sorry.
And we should put you.
I just wanted to, my comment to Brady singing and stuff in our school. He drums and sings so loudly that you can hear it around the entire school. I think he creates the feeling of home for all of our FMNI students just by doing that. Because it doesn't matter where he is, you can hear it. It radiates through the entire school. So I just want to commend you for that. You are a huge part of that home feeling. Sorry.
Thank you, Andrea. Trustee Gibbons?
Thank you all for coming. You guys all know I'm like everything football, so Ava's my girl. Thanks for making me, want to cry. But I just want to say, you guys, you talk about how you want people to be proud of you. I hope that you feel pride in yourself because you are exceptional individuals. You are the change. Your voice is the change. You're the ones that's going to make the difference in the lives of all the people around you. I look forward to, watching you at the Calgary Stampede, hearing you drumming, you teaching, you and your ginormous heart, helping people. And I have no doubt, Keegan, that Andrea would come and drag you out to get you to school. So, but I actually do have a question after that statement. Brady, I noticed that there was something on your drum. Can you tell me about your drum?
That is Keegan's.
Oh, okay.
Tell you.
Keegan, can you tell me, can someone tell me about that drum?
So, I don't know a lot about it, okay? But all I know is that my dad got it gifted to him after he got better because he was in bad drugs, and this was kind of an achievement to him. And he really felt like he needed to pass it on. So one day he passed it on to me.
Okay, and that's an eagle?
Yeah,
Sorry,
this is an eagle.
an eagle. Okay, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And Brady, you played it beautifully. Thank you.
Trustee Murray Elliott?
Thank you all for coming and sharing with us. You truly are great ambassadors of your culture. I just have a comment, a suggestion for future. I know, Brady, I think I heard you were in grade 12, but when Ms. Requa talked about how we can share the culture more in our schools, your singing gave me goosebumps. It really did. And I know we have fantastic music programs in Sturgeon, and I wonder if there's some way you could share with the music teachers of how we can incorporate more Indigenous music into some of the music that they do, because I would love to see that. So just something to think about for everybody.
Question, is it?
Just a suggestion.
Trustee Buga?
Thank you. I don't know if I really have a question. I thank you for sharing. We read a lot of the bureaucratic, the reports on the missing and murdered Indigenous women. We read the TRC reports. We see the calls to action. We try to implement them as much as we can in the boardroom. But I know that that's a system that it doesn't really make sense with culture. And thank you for bringing it to us because there's so much to learn. You all spoke so well about community and relationships and forgiveness and second chances and how Indigenous communities are something that we need to model after because the way that your cultures have grown together despite so many purposeful challenges to you is something that is incredible. And we don't always pay attention to, like, we read the reports and it ends up sitting at more of a bureaucratic level. But thank you for bringing the real people and the real stories to the boardroom today. And I do want to let you know that some of the things that we're fighting for as trustees across the whole province is one of our position statements that I think is coming forward, this coming up, is to have the government make sure that every new school build has an Indigenous space in it, not as an afterthought, not as a, okay, you're going to lose a classroom in order to have this Indigenous space. We're fighting to make sure that that's in every school across the province, because what you guys are saying about the room, the space that you have, is so important. And trustees understand that, like, we're fighting for you. And the fact that you guys are bringing that to us gives us that much more passion in our fight. At a different level, we're looking up, but we're looking out for you guys. And so I really appreciate it, because without your voices, it's hard for us to see things on paper and really understand how that impacts you guys directly. So I really appreciate it. And we will continue to keep you guys in our minds when we're doing our jobs and doing our work. And we can't do that without you coming to us. So we really appreciate you joining us and sharing today. And as you did with Cass, and you're kind of being dragged all over the place short notice at a really tough time of year for you, but thank you. So I don't have a question, I just appreciation.
I have a couple words for each of you. It won't take long. But Ava, I love your commitment and your drive to guide the future. Your attitude is inspirational. I just know that no matter where you end up, you will have an impact. I feel that in my heart. Keegan, this one's hard. You speak the words of every mother who wants the best for their child. Your words about family were very moving for me. And thank goodness for backpacks. I mean, I've never been so grateful for one. Your chance to be the leader next year is a very important one. That opportunity, I think, will help define you in the future. So if there's anything that the board can do to support you in that role, please don't hesitate to ask. And I have my fingers crossed that Miss Andrea will find you, should you not be holding up your end of the bargain. Tori, your passion for Indigenous education is truly needed right now. I hope you remember Sturgeon Public when you graduate. You could make a massive difference here as well. So whether you end up on a reserve at a school there or you end up somewhere else, keep us in mind. We would love to see you back. Brady, I'm so pleased you've been able to find your home at Sturgeon. It's hard. It's hard no matter who you are coming into a new high school, but the fact that you were able to find a place and a passion and a home to grow and develop is very touching. I guess the question I have is that you mentioned that bringing culture into the school can be challenging. Some people have embraced it, others have not. I don't need an answer right now, but if you can think of ways that we could help encourage or support you in that endeavor, I'd love it if you could let us know.
I have been thinking about that. I don't know. It's just hard, you know, because people have different experiences, right? A lot of people have, especially the native kids, you know, different traumas, different reactions to things, you know. It's hard to connect to someone. And I see it when I go to Sturge, you know. That yeah. It's hard to see like some of my native brothers and sisters, you know, falling into a culture that's not ours. It kind of sucks, but it's life. I honestly don't really know how to include more culture because I don't know, maybe bringing someone in who can really speak about it, someone like really native. Yeah, because you know, for me, that's what helped me, you know. Yes, I can talk with like white people, but deep down, you know, the indigenous community and my uncles, my dad especially, you know, oh, if it wasn't for my dad, I would not be here today. I just want to say that. And but yeah, you know, it's hard to try to put the culture in the school, but there's probably some ways.
Yeah, and you know what? Change, I can't remember who said it, but change is an inside job. So once you have developed a path forward, once you have fleshed out some thoughts and ideas, I'd love to hear them. I know whoever is sitting around this table would love to hear them. Yes,
Can I add to that?
absolutely. Please, Ava.
Cool. I think that a huge part of the schools is the togetherness, and having everyone together makes it easier to bring the culture into the schools, whether that's putting posters up or having more events and having more people come together, regardless of your ethnicity. Thank you. Having more people involved and having more people learn about the culture, whether that's teachers or principals or students or parents. I think having other people know about, well, our past and our like, and not even just our past, celebrating the future, not not to like, want to, but not to dwell on the past. So like celebrating our traditions and learning hands-on. Like I know that I really, really enjoyed a lot of the things that I did previously, where that was building drums or learning different songs, or I think doing stuff like that would really, really help.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Trustee Dwyer.
I've been to a couple of I'll call it indigenous horse racing. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It's fast. I think if anybody here hasn't seen it, how fast it is, it's bareback, right?
I actually got ran over it a couple of times while I was driving.
Yeah, I believe it. I don't know how you don't get run over all the time, the way that horse comes in and rider and handling and getting on the next one and going. I think, what, is there 4 horses per?
No, 3.
3, sorry, 3. I've seen it twice. Please go out and see it. It's amazing talent and actually it's something like that to me really shows some of the culture, right? And if you're watching it properly, and it's cool. What you do is cool.
I'm catching though. I have to have a tactic. It's kind of like don't plan. What's that word again?
Well, when you're catching, these horses don't come in with a rider just trot in closely and catch.
They run.
They run. It's almost you got to jump on the thing to get it down and get the rider off and onto the next one. But it's a really cool event to watch.
It's something that you got to react fast. You either get off the way, grab the horse or get hit.
Exactly.
But I taught myself a couple of ways to grab the horse. I would either hook on them or I would hug the horse and go with them. Yeah, it's a extreme sport.
Oh, it
Sport
is.
means a lot. Yeah, this sport touches a lot of people, but some people don't really want to share it with the white community because they feel like they shouldn't, because they feel like the white community took so much from us that we shouldn't be sharing a lot. But I think we should just share it. Just find ways so we can bond with each other and forgive each other.
Well, when you get to the Calgary Stampede, you will be sharing it with millions of people.
I know it's been said over and over and maybe said too much that it's lost its meaning, but it is actually a fundamental truth that we are stronger together. And so I thank you for being part of that.
Yeah, I believe that too. Yeah, our name is the Avengers.
All right.
The group may have named themselves.
Of course it was Brady. We have a token of our appreciation. Sometimes we sit around this table and Trustee Buga mentioned it, and sometimes it's really hard. There are very hard days here. Some days you just want to give up, but seeing you guys here today makes it feel worth it. Makes the hard days worth the work. So thank you for that. And we're going to bring you some tokens of our appreciation.
Oh,
Let's go Oilers.
I'm worried seriously we lost it, making my nails do something again.
you got to keep them.
One more?
No, I'm just asking where this one's come from.
To dad.
Yeah, that's from that. Thank you for joining us today.
Laura, can I say a few words? I'm a cultural practitioner of my people. It's a medicine man, a cultural expert of Treaty 5, utilized here in Treaty 6. I'm from Treaty 8. This is my son here, Brady. I grew up. They tried to raise him in a good way, to accept all things, and to grow, as our ancestors did. We always have an open mind. That change is part of our culture. That change will come. Even though we may not want it, will always come on us. Our people have prayed hard for a long time. And one of the things that I see in our youth is that, yes, they are adapting to this society. But as they do that, we are losing them. We are losing them in the sense of the language, in the sense of the values and the virtues. And those of you, the educators here, just like myself, I'm an educator, but I do not use the term knowledge keeper. The term we use is knowledge teacher. We share our knowledge, not just within our own groups, but with as many as we can, so that there can be a unity to honor the treaties that our ancestors signed. Because each and every one of us is part of a treaty. We are a treaty, all of us. Every Canadian, every American, anybody that's on Turtle Island, we are a treaty. Yes, we are from the treaties, 6, 7, 8, not the number of the treaties, the Robinson treaties, but also all of you are treaties. You're from the other side of the coin. There's two people on the coin. My grandfather and yours, working together so that we could find peace and harmony. And we see the world that's falling apart. And we see it in the wars that are starting over something that's could be a waste. Not much importance, it just seems like the personal agendas of certain individuals. In our culture, we're taught that we're better coexist better when we work together. We have one saying, my son, his older brother Denzel, 27, he's in Manitoba. He's a their cultural expert and for their teacher. Proud of them, I'm proud of this guy here, proud of this guy here. These two here for speaking. But we read, I know that what they lack, the questions that were asked were very hard. And hopefully one day they'll be able to answer them. Like when they also find more of the answers. But give them time, because I know what they're saying, the residential school syndrome that's hit us hard. And the fact that we were denied much of this education for a long time. That we weren't to compete with any other members of society. That the extent of our education would be agricultural, which is fine. But before any other societies came onto this continent, we had everything. We had scientists, we had doctors, we had lawyers. We didn't need no laws, we didn't need no jails. We had a society that was based on respect. And that's the code of our people, respect. Manas. And we try and show that as much as we can. Sometimes, yes, it hurts. It hurts a lot. And we want to fight. We want to do it in a good way. We want to fight with love. That's the first core. The core of our teaching has always been love. That we were born with real love. On this side, Creator's love. The love of our parents, our ancestors. And on this side, Creator, let us find true love. This is where we find our spouse, our children. The past, the present, and the future. It's all within us. Just like the braid of the sweetgrass, the braid in our hair. That's what it represents. I'm very thankful for you guys giving these youth the opportunity. And I feel I had to say something as an elder of my people. I don't like the term elder either. I've been doing this now as a cultural practitioner since I was 14. This is my 36th year being a ceremonialist. You know, most ceremonies you go to, they'll probably know my name in it, one way or another. I thank you all. Peter bless you. After I'd like to say a prayer with my son here. You guys can join us. Nanas Komao.
Nanas Komao.
Kutawin.
Kutawin.
That's the greatest prayer there is. The only prayer our people were taught by the Great Spirit. The only prayer he ever asked from us. Thank you. Greatest prayer there is. The good and the bad. We say thank you. And that's why even when we're hurt, we laugh. Because we know laughter will heal us. Nanas Komao.
Nanas Komao.
Igawin.
Igawin.
We thank the mother, the earth that provides food to us every day, the water that we drink, the air that we breathe, and wherever it is on her body, we call our home fire. And also the mother that gave us birth. All the mothers in this room. The mothers that will give us grandchildren and great grandchildren. We thank all mothers. Nanas Komao.
Nanas Komao.
Kimusumno.
Kimusumno.
Mina.
Mina.
Kokum.
Kokum.
And I thank our ancestors for getting us here, all of us. Every one of us here. Hey, hey.
Thank you so much. I think we'll take a 10-minute break.
10-minute break?
Oh, sorry.
What's up?
Hi, sorry, Brady. Did you have something else?
Now that my dad has talked, I didn't think he's gonna. My confidence is up there. So, I don't know if I'm really supposed to talk about his work. My dad works at a Clear Hills Youth Treatment Center. It is one of the first treatment centers in Canada to be fully cultural. He runs it actually, or he used to. But you know, now that the culture, he has touched on the culture, the one thing that has really helped me is self-control and belief in myself. The grandfathers told me, they told everybody, Creator doesn't need your beliefs because he's Creator, right? He'd do anything. What Creator wants from you is for you to believe in yourself. And then once you do that, then those things will show themselves to you, the spiritual things. You know, I believe that the white folk their technology got too advanced, and somewhere along the line, they lost touch to the spiritual side of things. But you know, when you really put your mind to it, you know, it's honestly really, sometimes it can be scary, but these spirits and these things, it's real. Oh yeah, it's really real. And yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to say that to you guys. I felt like saying that, and that's what I want these guys to hear too. Believe in yourself before you believe in the creator, before you believe in anything else, but you believe there for yourself. And it's been working out for me. Oh yeah. You know, uh I was going through this pill addiction from September till December. I, if anything, the last year has been like the roughest year of my life up until like 3 months ago. But yeah, I talked to my dad. I was crying to my dad actually. My mom had told me, she said, Brady, is there anything I did wrong while raising you? That freaking broke my heart, honestly. But I talked to my dad about it, and he just said, deep down in the core of Brady, what does he want? And I was like, damn. I really thought about that. And yeah, you know, the culture is all of me. I try to make it all of me, but it's hard to balance this life, this new age with the culture. But I'm gonna make it work. Oh yeah. And yeah, I just want to say thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and present to us and share with us. It's been moving to say the least, educational, and yes, thank you so much. Thank you, each of you. We will take a 10-minute recess and see our guests to the door. Thank you. All right, thank you for waiting. Welcome back. We are now moving into number 7 action items, 7.1 draft 2025-2026 budget. Superintendent Warren.
Thank you, Board Chair. I will turn this over to the Associate Superintendent of Corporate Services.
Thank you, Superintendent. So I'm just going to kind of go through a high-level overview and then talk a little bit about the template presented here. I'll talk a little bit about some challenges and some things we're faced with. And then I'll open it up to questions afterwards about anything I've kind of commented on or the budget document. Okay, so I'm going to start by saying the budget 25-26 was not particularly an easy budget that came with many difficult decisions. The division is seeing both a reduction in revenue and an increase in expenditures. The lack of funding increases to offset general expense increases from various items such as unfunded settlements, inflation, benefits, potential tariffs, and so forth is becoming a growing concern. On March 25th, the Government of Alberta released the funding profile for school divisions. To no surprise, the division saw a reduction in its stabilization funding from 4.3 million to 2.9 million, a total of 1.4 million in reduction. This reduction was noted in prior years, and as a reminder, will continue until these funds are depleted in 28-27. The reduction of stabilization funding was partially offset by a modest 2.32% increase in service and supports, which resulted in a total decrease in operational funding of $700,000. This is in comparison to the July profile, because just as a reminder, our profile changed a couple times through last year. In addition to this, the division has not seen approval of its Jordan principal funding, which was an estimated $2.2 million for the 25-26 school year, and is $1.7 million in the previous budget. Throughout the year, this was updated to $1.9 million. So we did have 1.9 in the last year, but in the budget, it was $1.7 million. Over the last few years, Sturgeon Public School Division has been able to use reserves to provide additional supports to schools through great initiatives that focused on items such as mental health and wellness, smaller class sizes, and additional learning and counseling supports. To do that, over the last few years, the divisions ran a deficit budget from anywhere between 1.2 million to 4.1 million. In the documents presented for the upcoming year, the division is planning a deficit of $800,000. The reduction in the reserve usage and the revenue decline has led to a decrease in resources available. In preparation of the budget since October, the division has actively been discussing budget processes and strategies around ways to bring spending in alignment with resources available. This was accomplished by conducting ongoing reviews of our assumptions allocation models to ensure they align with division goals, reviewing and discussing various retrenchment options, reviewing and approving the 25-26 budget assumption risks and allocation model, reviewing our jurisdiction profile comparison and budget timelines, working with school and department administrators to develop and complete budgets, conducting environmental scans to ensure we are on par with other divisions in the province, and a thorough review of the draft budgeting documents presented here today. Overall, budget 25-26 is based on a projected revenue of $78.1 million with an $800,000 deficit for a total of $78.9 million in available resources. The budget presented today sets a strong foundation to ensure the division maintains its fiscal responsibility within the funding constraints that we are faced with today. The board has been in discussion since October, November, but specifically met through April and May to review preliminary and draft budgets. More specifically, on April 23rd, the board approved the budget assumptions, which include high-level allocation principles and priorities for the budget. In addition, on May 14th, a thorough review was done of the budget template and the documents presented here today. So I'm just going to move over to talking a little bit about the pages in the budget template and just kind of speaking about some high-level items in each of them. So revenues and expenses are highlighted on page 3 and 4 of the budget document, which are respectively the schedule of operations and the program of operations. In terms of overall revenues are planned to decrease by 1.5 million, mainly due to the change in funding from Alberta Education and the federal government for Jordan's Principle. Some of these decreases were offset by some other smaller increases in funding to make up that $1.5 million. In terms of revenue, the majority of the budget is based on projected enrollment, and the division is expecting to remain relatively stable in enrollment. Enrollment projections can be found on page 9, projected student statistics. As a point to note, Alberta Education has moved away from the weighted moving average into an adjusted enrollment method, which no longer takes a 3-year average, but instead uses a 2-year that is based on 70% of our upcoming projections and 30% of our prior year actuals. It has also been estimated that the division will see a prime rate decrease, which will reduce investment income. All other revenues have been estimated based on a combination of factors that include historical data, projected estimates, and potentially other agreements in place. An important thing to note is to highlight is that 90% of our revenues come from Alberta, the government of Alberta, and the division is highly dependent on funding from the government. Moving over to expenses. Expenses have reduced by $1.9 million as a result of revenues and operating reserve usage. I would like to just provide some clarity. The division did have to find savings in excess of the $1.9 million because of various cost increases. The $1.9 million specifically relates to reductions in revenues and reserve usage. I just wanted to clarify that because it has been some kind of comments that have come up from stakeholders and through our meetings and discussions we had that we're seeing cost increases for things that are like unfunded settlements, grid movement, benefits, inflation, potential tariffs. As an example, a standard cost of a teacher went up from $111,000 to $112,800, a 1.6% increase, obviously with no funding increase to help offset that. Something else I want to highlight is that the majority of our budget, 75% of expenses, is focused on instruction, and 72% is focused on salaries and benefits. Provincially, the averages are 43%. When compared to other school divisions, they're spending 73% of their money on instruction and 70% on salaries and benefits. So we are spending more of our money towards instruction and more of our money towards salary and benefits, just when compared to the provincial averages. Our staffing numbers, as you can see, is a large part of our budget and are a reflection on page 10, projected staffing statistics. Something I'd like to point out is the staffing levels have decreased, and it is not proportional to our expenditure decrease, highlighted on page 3 and 4, because employee staffing costs have increased drastically. An environmental scan was conducted, and the division is still maintaining staffing levels above the provincial average when compared to 23-24 data. An ongoing concern with budgeting in future years is the lack of funding increases for inflation, staffing costs, and other items, as well as the classroom complexity and rising mental health and wellness challenges will continue to escalate, and the lack of funding to support these things. Despite all these changes, the division the division is still offering the following program, although it may be looking slightly different. Pre-K programming, SHINE programming, CASA programming, and mental health and social worker supports in schools. We are hoping that these programs will help still support those students with needs, although it may look slightly different. Reserve information is highlighted on pages 6 to 8. Operational reserves have decreased by 66% since 21-22 and are starting to stabilize. The division's range for operating reserves must be maintained between 1% to 6%, as set by the government. The plan presented today keeps reserves below the required cap of 6%. The division plans to set aside funds consistent with amortization to plan for the replacement of future buildings and assets to ensure that there are safe and caring learning environments for students. Completion of the budget takes expertise from all levels of our organization, and I want to thank all those who contributed to the completion of the 25-26 budget. So thank you to the senior team, principal, school leaders, central office experts, trustees, and anyone else who had any input in supporting with the budget documents presented here today. I'll open it up to questions.
Okay, questions for clarification from the board? Trustee Dwyer?
Sean, I don't even know how to ask this, but I'm a real believer in the teacher, the chalkboard, and a piece of chalk, and all these kids in front of them. And tough budget, I got it. But I'm just not personally seeing what we've done. I agree, staffing 72% or whatever you said it was, percent of our stuff. I don't know. I just don't know if we touched on everything that we can do to minimize, to help out the classroom. I see through this budget, and I blame the government for this totally. I'll yell that from the top of the roof if you want me to. But at the end of the day, our classes are going to get bigger. Our support type stuff might be lower. This is really a tough budget. And today on our vote, I'll be voting against it, not on our budget, sort of on our budget. I don't know if we've done enough to talk about the other little bit that we can look at, even if we could add one more teacher somehow. But it's really a protest on all budget and what's happening in our pressures in our schools and stuff like that on what we've been given by the government and stuff like that. So it's kind of a self-protest or a little bit of a community protest too, from what I heard last night. But I just wanted to put that out there.
Yes, please respond.
Thank you, Trustee Dwyer. Yeah, so 100% correct. It's not an easy budget. A few points I'd like to make are that compared to the provincial average, we are still staffed higher. I know it's not ideal. Us here at Sturgeon are being hit harder because of that stabilization funding that a lot of other boards don't have, as well as the loss of the Jordan principal. So that is a fact. We are being hit harder than other boards currently. However, our levels are still above kind of what the provincial levels are for staffing. So I would agree that the funding is not on par to the expectation of education and how we educate students for sure. In terms of other things we have looked at, there's some specifics I can talk about, and I can also pass it over to the team as well too to talk about other areas. But in terms of our school staff, over the last 2 years, we have seen roughly a 15 to 16% reduction both in certificated and uncertificated staff. And I would tell you in other areas in the division, whether it's through staffing or other cost savings, there have been reductions in the terms of 18 to 25%. I can specifically speak to some of my departments, but I know a lot of people don't see this, but when we're having people leave positions, we're not replacing them. Specifically in our finance department, it's a smaller team and we have not replaced 2 staff specifically, which equates to upwards of 20%. I think it was 22% of our FTE composition. So we are looking at other things. Of course, there's always more we can do, but we are doing our best to kind of make sure we're directing all the funds we can to the classroom, as well as 75% of our funds are being directed to instruction. I don't know if anyone else has any comment on.
Deputy Superintendent?
John Conrad, Deputy Superintendent. I can use a bit of sharing from my department as a central office department, kind of what's happened over the past few years. We're certainly lighter than we were when I arrived here as a director. But an illustrative thing would be like our learning services. Our learning services team is responsible for supporting our complex classrooms, the students with the most challenging needs, both cognitively and behaviorally. And a few years ago, we had 3 coordinators and a director. Then we had 2 coordinators. Then we had 1 coordinator. Right now, we have no coordinators going forward next budget. But we did add a director into that area. So that's where you see that slight step up. And I know a lot of people have asked me, like, how can you do that? And well, I mean, if you look at the trend, we've been doing nothing but reducing while the needs are doing nothing but increasing. And when we look at the shift in pre-K where we need clear guidance and instruction, but we're going to have great professionals in the room, but the program has to be put together by a teacher, and we've asked it of the new director coming in. And so that's where, we didn't replace the coordinator. We used to have 3, we'll have 0, but there is a director up there. But some people really don't see all those through lines. They don't see the year over year. So we've reduced significantly from when I arrived. We've reduced over the last few years, but we still have significant needs in our schools. And I'm just using that department as a clear example. I really don't want to get into too many specifics because this is a big budget conversation, but I know people are listening online and they're wondering, well, how can we do this? Well, we are asked to support, we provide support to schools, and the positions that you see that we have here are school focused supports. I know they're not teachers in chalk and classroom, but we hit those things first. We had mental health and wellness counselors, coaches in schools. They were great, and we had to step them down. Learning coaches in schools, they're great. They're great instructional practitioners. And in this budget, we have to remove them. And in some ways, I know that's an in-school support removal, but that's part of cutting central office in a way because that's not changing class sizes, those particular cuts. So we are doing, and as the superintendent of corporate services said, there's more to do, but it's very difficult to get into the specifics for everyone to see. But that's just an example of learning services where we have reduced year over year over year. But it's difficult to explain that in this context.
Thank you, Deputy Superintendent. Trustee Gibbons, then Trustee Marie Elliott.
Sorry. Trustee Elliott, Marie Elliott, is yours on that? I have a completely different question, so I don't know if yours is okay. So my question is the centralized supports for students and schools, all of those little breakdowns, they fall into the Government of Alberta budget number. That's 74 million. Is that where that comes in? Okay. And we saw because we all know and we've all heard, and we've seen the research, early learning is important. Did our PUF funding get decreased again?
No, our PUF funding did not get decreased again. But we're seeing increased need, is what I'd say. We're seeing increased need across the board. It stayed relatively stable going to this next year as it was currently last year. But again, there's just the need is going up, and it's difficult to continue to support that.
Superintendent Warren?
Yeah, just some back history there, just to remind the board that when the UCP were elected in 2018, it was in their platform that PUF was going away. It was moving back to privatized. So the days of when our children were in pre-K, that it was all privatized. And then if you remember, there was a switch in UCP leadership, and then there was a pause. PUF has always been a challenge. This board made tough decisions, and not this board. Previous boards had to make tough decisions because, again, we looked at our resident students not taking non-residents. The board is mandated to educate. You are mandated to educate your resident children. That is your legal obligation, and it's the kids that live inside our jurisdictional boundary. So the board made decisions, starting 8 years ago, looking at PUF funding to realize that to focus on resident students. The PUF funding, we haven't been, those teachers have always come out of instructional. As you know, when you're looking at a tough budget, we have to look at the programming that we're offering. And the PUF funding is about the supports those kids receive, right? So it's the consultants that come in and they're doing the assessments, and that's why it's so successful. Well, we want to make sure that the funding we receive for those children is used for those supports that we're actually funded for, which is that. Not the classroom teacher, it wasn't, it was coming out of your instructional dollars for your grades 1 and up. And so it's very difficult. And when you're looking at bigger class sizes, we want to make sure our PUF coded children actually get those supports. And so how do we run the program inside its funding portfolio? So just some explanation on that. And again, we don't know the future. This different government, we're not sure, and the value of PUF, and I think it's conversations, this is why we've been talking about it so much. We know and we've seen the difference we make in those children. But again, when, as our Associate of Corporate Services said, when those needs increase, if the funding doesn't increase, we have to stretch those dollars across.
Trustee Murray Elliott?
Thank you. I just want to say thanks to the financial team for the budget presentations they've given us. It's been very helpful and in clearing things up. I'm not particularly fond of the content, but that is not anything we can do anything about. That's more of a funding issue outside of our hands. I am, though, happy to hear that 72% is going towards salaries and benefits, 75% towards the instruction programs. Would I be able to get a quick breakdown on what that looks like?
Associate Superintendent of Corporate Services.
In particular, I think you're referencing the salaries, but let me know if benefits if I'm incorrect. But just a little bit of a breakdown. 57 million is spent on staffing. 57% or 45 million is spent on salaries. 15% or 12 million is spent just on benefits. And then of the 57 million, 1.3 million is spent on staff leaves. People might wonder what staff leaves are. Those are basically all union approved leaves for sick, short-term disability, maternity leave, personal leave, all those kinds of things. So that's what makes up that 1.3 million is what we've set aside for staff leaves.
Trustee Pequin?
Budgets, yay. Sorry. I appreciate your work in balancing taking teachers out of classrooms, but also by eliminating central office staff. we have to keep in mind, we have a staff of 700. We have payroll, we have government reporting, we have so many things that have to be done centrally that we need the staff to do those things. So I appreciate the balance in gross budgets where we have to cut all the people. Can you explain page 6 of 10, the investment in tangible capital assets? That $5 million, that's not money. Because we have, like, at the end of this budget projected should be 7.3 million in our operating reserves and our capital reserves. That 5 million isn't. Can you just, explain that a little bit, not in detail, because, yeah.
Yeah, so that investment tangible capital asset amount, that's 5.5 million. It's basically our equity in the assets we have. It's not real money that we can use for anything. It's there more to just record kind of what our equity is in our buildings and our equipment.
Trustee Buga?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you to the team for getting us very well versed in all things budget this year, as we dug pretty deep into a lot of areas, I think. My question is the reduction in Jordan's Principle, which was a significant, what we had hoped we would be getting was 2.2 million. I know there are some other grants, and again, kind of leads back to why we do need people in central office to do that reporting, because we have a lot of grants and follow-up, and it seems like without the increase in base funding that I know that trustees have been advocating for many years, is to give us this base funding so that it's predictable instead of these grants. Is there potential that there are more grants that still are yet to be announced? I know that we have to budget on what has been announced, but what is it looking like kind of as of right now to fill those gaps? And is there hope for something external to come? Just curious if there's any anticipation.
Superintendent Warren?
Thank you, Vice Chair. It's a great question. So at this time, it's the 2 federal grants that we are unsure of. And so that is the nutrition grant. So that was announced federally, and we have nothing. We have no idea what that's going to look like. We have no information from the government on that. I'm sure our public is well aware that there's some challenges between our provincial and federal government right now. We are funded by the province for education. Jordan's Principle is newer. This is, as you know, it's been it has been a revenue avenue that we've been so fortunate to have had for our students. It is a federal grant that is very targeted, and it is a lot of reporting. And as a division for Jordan's Principle to access that for a student, they must come from a nation. It has to be linked to a nation. We have to prove as a division we have exhausted every other avenue of supports, revenue, everything to support those children. It's a lot of reporting. And we have grown, as you heard the Associate Superintendent of Corporate Services say. This year alone, we were at 1.7, but we had some students move in, and so we can apply at different times, and they did qualify. And so it was upwards of 1.9 million for this school year. Those are federal dollars. They were not going through the province. It was completely federal. And you heard the sad stories this year that we were very fortunate to be one of the school divisions that actually was the first to be approved for a group application. And so we received our dollars this year. Sadly, we had school divisions that, like us last year, if you remember last year in about February, where we had some panic because we didn't have confirmation we were getting those dollars, yet we had people in those positions. So Jordan's Principle is very different because it is not like when we get our First Nation, Métis and Inuit portfolio funding, which is to build foundational knowledge and for truth and reconciliation, but for all, right? So that is supporting all staff in their learning, everybody learning, etc. Jordan's Principle is targeted, and it must only be used for that child who actually qualified for it, and we report back on it. That loss of revenue, I will always keep hope. There's always hope. I'm going to keep hope. But that 2.2 million, that is direct support that goes directly to individual students that we do not have. And we have to budget without it because we do not have the dollars, and there is no indication that we will be getting it because of everything that has happened. So it is an uncertainty, and it is a huge loss to the supports of our students who need it.
Trustee Pequin?
So with that being said, we still have those children. We'll still educate those children. We just don't have the extra help. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, that is correct. So there's still the need out there. We do still have those children. We are still required to educate them, but we will not have the same level of supports because we do not have that funding.
I have a two-part question. One is for clarification. So I've been on the board since pre-2019. In 2019, the government threw out a second funding manual and profile late in the year, and we had to revise our budgets. But with that came bridge funding. And at the time, the board had opted to take that bridge funding and spread it over 3 years to minimize the impact on our classrooms. When bridge funding ended, they provided a secondary grant stabilization funding, which we have been very fortunate to receive, and we've used over the last couple of years again to minimize the impact in our classrooms and to our school division. Recently, the government has mandated boards to reduce their reserves. And so we used our reserves to supplement classrooms, supplement teachers, continue programs that the board felt were incredibly important. We are at a point this year where those funding options have been exhausted. We are now at a point where we are having to operate within the confines of the budget provided. Is that correct?
Yep, that is exactly correct.
Okay, and then further to that, I was wondering if you could speak to our reserves, why we have money in our reserve on our budget line for reserves, and what does that funding provide?
Yeah, so reserve funding is one-time funding. It's not really meant to support things that a level of services that we can provide ongoing. Our reserves are set up for a variety of reasons, but a large portion of that is SGF and school-based reserves. So about just under $1 million actually just come from reserves that are school-based for school-generated funds and operating reserves that they carry forward for kind of savings if things need to go on there or to help mitigate maybe reductions. Another large portion of our operating reserves is to help plan for future budgets. So about 1.3 million is to help plan for the deficit we're carrying next year, as well as the following year. The plan currently is probably to have another deficit, obviously a reduced deficit, but we need money to set aside to do that. And then there's other things in there like insurance contingency and things like that, but that money is basically set aside to help mitigate unexpected expenses and things that might come up throughout the year.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions for clarification? Trustee Dwyer?
I just want to get clear on the PUF funding. That's a per student grant, right? And then if there's an increase in those students during the year, that PUF takes care of that, right?
Yep. Yeah, so PUF funding is based on actuals. We do our projections, but yep, throughout the year, we have to December 1st and February 1st to submit, and we will get funding if those numbers do go up. So yes, if we do see more students, we will see those numbers go up.
Thank you.
Funding.
Okay, seeing no further questions, I will ask for a motion. Trustee Bucca?
I move that the Board of Trustees approve the draft 2025 to 2026 budget as presented at the May 28th, 2025 public board meeting.
All right, now we will go around the table and each trustee will have an opportunity to speak for or against the motion. Trustee Murray Elliott, you don't have to if you don't have anything to say, but this is your opportunity to.
Just once again, I appreciate the presentation, not so happy with the content, but I think the division has done a lot of good work in getting this budget ready for us, and I will support it.
Thank you. Trustee Pecklin? Trustee Dwyer?
Yeah, it's been a hard one for me. I've got a community that is not excited about what's happening. I think Sean and his department has done a great job in trying to explain this, put the budget together. I think mine is more of a protest on the whole government, everything. And I will be voting no today because of that.
Thank you. Trustee Gibbons?
Your chair. I too want to reiterate everybody else's comments of thank you to the finance team and associate superintendent of corporate services and your executive director and everybody else. Spending the time to explain things to us. It's not pretty. But I think we've worked through the best that we can to provide the resources to the schools in the classroom to best support the students that we have with the resources that we were given. So I will be in support of this motion.
Trustee Bucca?
Also say thank you very much to the team and all their hard work, and thank you for explaining it to us very well and in depth and letting us have our input. I will also be supporting the budget. I also think that it is very important that we and the next board that sits in these chairs in October continues to advocate for that increase in base funding and the unpredictability of the budgets these last few years have been substantial hurdles and challenges, I think, to try to plan around when we really just don't know what's happening. So thank you.
I'm also going to speak in favor. Have not budgets are always hard. It means some people may win and others are going to lose. I appreciate the adjustment to our budgetary model this year where schools have been significantly involved in the budget process and that they have the ability to affect their own schools as they see fit. So I feel that that's been a very important move by the board and by your team. Piggybacking on what Trustee Bucca said, I think it's incumbent on all of us to advocate in the areas that we're able. We have 2 large conferences coming up, and I think that it's a good opportunity for us to take some of the concerns that not only we as trustees have, but that we have heard from our communities, from our schools directly to these conferences, and in the most respectful way possible, advocate for the reduction in PUF funding. You know, we've all heard how important and how valuable it is. Funding the CUPE settlement, for example, and questioning the funding of charters and independents. You know, as trustees, that's where our voice is strongest, is in our advocacy. So although I don't love the content, as Trustee Murray Elliott said, I think that we've done the best with what we have, and we will take our advocacy to our conferences and to anybody who will listen. So Does anybody have anything different to add to the discussion we just had? Okay, I will call the question that the Board of Trustees approve the draft 2025-2026 budget as presented at the May 28th, 2025 public board meeting. All in favor? All opposed? Carried 5-4. Thank you. Oh, 5-1, sorry. You know what? This numbers budget, sorry. 5-1, carried. 7.2 Sturgeon Public Schools Draft Education Plan 2025-2028. Superintendent Warren.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to turn this over to the deputy. Mary, the team has worked really hard. I'm proud of the work and how we've morphed the ed plan. I think it is very targeted and it is it's what drives everything we do. And I think that the team has done an amazing job. So I will give a shout out to the whole team. This has been a complete team effort to the draft that's being brought to you. And there's a lot of feedback that has been used to draft it, but I will turn it over to the deputy.
Deputy Superintendent Conrad.
Thank you, Chair and Superintendent. John Conrad, Deputy Superintendent. Start by echoing Superintendent's words. This size of document, level of document is contributed by so many people, and thanks should start with parents giving us the feedback that they have, with staff and the feedback they provide, of course, all the work and hard work that they do. And students, there's a lot of student voice in this as well. So remind the board that a few years ago, the government changed the pattern. We used to have a single document that was both a results report and a plan on what to do with the results. And they changed a few years ago to do the results report in November and the plan on what to do about it now in May. That sometimes can be a bit tricky, but it does give us more opportunity to have fulsome data sets and to really think about that. So we presented the annual education results report in November. That's like our report card. That's the fulsome set of data that includes PATs, diplomas, that kind of thing. And then now in this spring, because we do our own local surveys, both of or inclusive of parents and students and staff, this plan is based on the AERR. But in additional, we've been able to get into early analysis of the current feedback. And I just think that's important for you guys to know, like our responsiveness is on the AERR, and then our local surveys and the business community engagement as well has seeded this. So as you look at the structure, I'm excited that thank you for the message from the board, for the enduring foundational statements. You'll notice some tweaks or updates to our division profile, and lots of exciting things there. It's worth pausing and taking a look at it. But just pausing on the measures, we have a fulsome way of asking for feedback and sharing with parents. How are we doing? Tell us more how, we can improve. Next year, very similar pattern of engagements. The success of the business community engagement, we'd like to host that again. It was very well received and very thankful for the communities that came out and were willing to engage and stayed even after the closing time. So we'll continue that, but next year we are going to endeavor to have a come together in-person engagement with parents. We missed that this year. Last year we did several of them. This year we had scheduled to try to do it within the context of school councils, but it was in a challenging time for the division in that early January time. So we are looking forward now to add that. So that would be a difference you'll see in the measures and voice. When you look at the priority and goals, this is an evolving plan. Last year was the first year we, with the board here, we agreed to align with 3 educational goals. We're continuing that pattern of 3 educational goals. And I hope that the trustees can see this as an evolution of those goals. This page is an excellent page. If you're looking to print one out and put it up on a wall, and any staff that are online, I just really encourage you to take this and print this. And the reason is, it's as concise a summary as you're going to find in this plan, one that you can go back to and see. We're still focusing on empowered student staff learning. We love healthy and safe school communities. And then our third goal, we had responsible leadership, really focused on that. We believe this has continued to tie to that, but we have a new identified goal of that future readiness and innovative learning. And on this page as well, you'll see we state them, the province uses this kind of language as outcomes. These are if I say goals, then we'll think we have all these goals. We have 3 goals. But these outcome states are what we are striving to reach so that you know we have reached our goals when you can look in our schools and we see this happening. That's the way these bullets work on the summary page. To quickly walk you through it, empowered learning, that was an evolution. And a key difference here, there's some tightening of wording and the team, has a whole year to reflect on it and then the feedback. But one key difference that I'd really like to highlight is that understanding of competencies. And they're listed here. And this aligns with the Alberta student competencies, where we want and will have students that are critical thinking, problem solving, collaborating, citizens, good citizens, creative, and understand a personal and health growth. Those also connect later to the third goal, but that's a kind of a shift, and I think it's important to highlight there. Same with in the next healthy school communities, most of the outcome states are similar. We're working towards that, but there is an additional, when we talk about promoting mental health, well-being, and resilience, and again, shared responsibility. I hope through all those outcomes you do see if we intentionally healthy school communities mean we're working with parents, we're working with students, we're working with staff. It is not like a directed thing that we can say now we're healthy. This is together. How can we work and model citizenship and create opportunities for resiliency? Last one here then is the most new, but even some of the stated outcomes are exactly as they were before because they still align with the future ready focus. When we talk about staff and students participating and leading school and community projects, that aligned with our community tie-in and our leadership, and it aligns with the future readiness and the engagements that we've been having that said we want students that are now engaged in what they may yet be doing. You'll also see some goals here that call out and tie directly to the work of the board. All of this is the work of the board. Don't mean to say that, but you can see that we do even have some called out outcomes and states that we believe you're committed to. I know I talk too much, so I'll try to be a little more summative. Just for if you're looking at this document, when we look at goal 1, the statistics we have, it's important that people listening online as well, we're highlighting either stats that we had last time. We want to see, are we growing, are we changing? Or stats that, information and data that show we need to grow. So we haven't called out our most successful or our greatest strengths. We've called out the areas that we are intentionally working and focusing on. So some of these data and stats should be concerning because we are concerned and we want to see growth in that area. That's why they're on this page. You can see with every goal.
Would you be opposed to taking a question in the middle?
I can take questions at any time.
Okay.
I just suddenly thought I was pressured for time.
You're not, absolutely not. Trustee Buga.
I was just going to ask, is it possible to share the screen as you're going through this for the folks online in case they don't have it open in front of them?
I can.
Sorry, just in case. I just
got to share the correct window.
Sorry.
No, I'm able to shift from a technology point of view.
Okay.
Your flexibility is appreciated.
Thanks. I'll try to, then if I'm presenting, I need to make this a little more so we can kind of see it. Is that a little easier?
Thank you.
Okay. So I was just walking through the general perspective of the way the ed plan is laid out. And also another thing here, you can see, we want to see higher rates of excellence in our PATs and diplomas. We want to see a higher and stronger rates of high school completions. I will say, our our high school completion and all of our academic insights into Indigenous students are strong compared to province, but they are still different from non-Indigenous students, and we have a lot of work to do there. Another structure thing for anyone looking online is those statistics are from our required, they're part of the provincial, they represent the Alberta Assurance Measure Survey. They really come for sure from the AERR in November. And then local, there may be some from the AER in November, but this is also, if they're called out, like in this case, well, these are all from the new statistics. These are the locals here. But I just want to say that's how we did the difference between kind of required provincial and the local, just for anyone looking online. The outcome states, the things that we are going to consistently achieve, these were summarized on that other page. They're the same 4 that you would have seen under the Empowered Learning Goal. When we look at some comparative stats, and this again, you want to dig into the stats, we've got years of them on our website. Please look at the annual education results report. It goes back, it has a 5-year trend analysis. This document is not meant to be the very same document. So here we're doing a little bit more focused statistics, just a little year over year to see, are we growing, are we not growing? And just a light commentary. The deeper insights are on the ARR. You can see at the top here though, and it's not repeated with every goal, the numbers behind here. So I just want to pause there for a moment, and you can see the number of parents that have replied to our surveys, the number of students that have replied to our surveys, the number of staff, and so on. And so if you're looking at, last year's, it's up there. If you're looking at next year's, I mean, not next year's, this year's, you can see as well the number of parents, staff, and students that completed our surveys. That's not repeated, but it is there. Reflective summary is something that I encourage people to read through. It is the team's reflection on our statistical growth or lack of growth, and insight into, how are we going to make sure that we do grow as we are still committed to empowered learning, healthy school communities, and future readiness. I think strategies is another one to really focus on and think through. This informs all school plans. The next cycle of administration school plans, they reflect on their current school plans and they frame it up. Basically, it's so important that we review this and have this. And has it been shared with them? Yes, but we spend the day June 11th together as administrators, where they're looking at their data, they're looking at the division data and strategies, and they're aligning their school plans to this. It's one of the most important meetings that we have in terms of strategic planning. Talks about our measures. How do we know? And when you talk about lead or lag, these are the things that we can do ongoing, and lag are the things that you do when you're done. And a clear example of that is, if we do know in mathematics that visible learning, vertical non-permanent surfaces, getting at the thinking behind what's going on in classrooms is important, then we can ask administrators in their walkthroughs, how many times do you see that? How many times do you see vertical non-permanent? How many times do you see math prompts? Those kinds of things we know lead to better math results. That's a lead measure. Things you talk about in year. The lag measure is, how'd you do? It's a test. It's at the end of the year, just to get the difference between lead and lag. Speaking of math, some of the things here you will have seen, they are an evolution and some of them are new, and Math Up is one of the new things the division is committed to. We have good math resources, but as we look going forward, we need that cohesive K-9 resource. And looking around the province, actually looking a bit at Western Canada, this Math Up has landed itself as a demonstrated. Divisions that have gone with Math Up are seeing a difference in their summative results, which is definitely our goal, but also in comprehension within the classroom, which is the goal now that leads to things like better math results on a test. So that's something that was not here last year that you should see here, and that's why I'm taking a moment to highlight it. We had a pilot this year already. It's in many of our schools. Lots of our math teachers are in it, using it, came and talked about it. But we are moving into that as a research-based program to work on our math results. Looking at our second, there's much more. I can't read all of it, but I hope you all do. And I know you have. I know the trustees have, but if I'm talking to anyone online, I hope everyone does as well. So, goal 2 is core as well across our schools. When we look at healthy school communities, I highlighted how that does need to be collaborative. Parents and staff and students need to work together to create healthy schools. These are some of the ways we measure what a healthy school community looks like. Citizenship. We want people to know what it means to be part of a group, to be a good citizen. That means to understand how to support someone different from you. So it talks about diversity, understand how to bring together, it talks about inclusion, understand how that we belong, that those senses are all part of good citizenship. Good citizenship also, something that we're really working on, and our students and staff, but the students still say it doesn't seem like everyone knows the rules. And I know rules, like I started with bigger concepts, but rules are an expression of feeling fair, of feeling equitable, that challenges or problems are being dealt with. And that's another measure of citizenship that we are talking about and working on. I think you can see some of the other local statistics that we need to grow on. And staff clearly see it as important. When we ask staff, what would you like support with? There's lots we need to support more of, but the strongest against any of the other suggestions, student behavior and mental health and wellness continue to rise to the top of our staff are asking for help and support with that. Outcomes again, you've seen these. We already talked about them on that summary page, great page to print. And then some of the key data that we're looking at. Again, there's a couple here that have changed year over year in a positive direction. That's great. And some really haven't moved where we want them to. And so we have continued work in this area. Summary is really, again, that the teams and staff look at this and talk about where they were, what's gone up. I will call out principal and vice principal because it was a statistic that we weren't, I don't know how to say that. Last year, when we saw that it seemed students were saying, my leadership doesn't seem to care about me. That was, of course, they care about that. And so we talked about how are we talking about kids? And if we're only the leadership that's correcting misbehavior, then that's going to be the results. And so we did talk about that, and it did go up. That's why I'm pausing for a moment, because that's a positive. It's not a call out statistic, but I just called it out because I think I want to encourage our principals that I know do listen to budget announcement and ed plan. I'm thankful that did improve. One thing that's slightly shifting here, it's not shifting. We are continue to be committed to understanding trauma, the effect it has in our classrooms, and our trauma-informed practice is strong and will continue to be strong through the TCIS program. But going beyond that to a positive behavior support, it's in our schools, many of them. It has been a push in the past, but we are seeing the importance of talking about positive behavior supports in all our schools. Again, that is less corrective discipline, more proactive, positive. Small examples that are easy to catch on to for anyone listening are, be present in the halls and welcome kids in your classroom. Statistics, research says it makes such an impact when you gather the children in when they're in a transition and you say, this is awesome, let's do class together. Or in whatever age appropriate language. If you use that in a high school, it might not be as received, but there are ways that we can welcome high school kids or young kids into the classroom. That's a small thing, but it's a clear example that creates a culture shift and an attitude shift in the learning that's about to happen and in the hallways, in the chaos that could sometimes be in hallways. Small example, there's so many more. But I don't want to take away, we are very committed to TCIS. That is a division-wide program. We continue to have there's mandated hours, but that just makes sure that we are continuing to talk and train and refresh that program. That is definitely a push. In this area of the ed plan, we also talk about I want to get there if I could. Indigenous success and culture of belonging. It's and you would have seen it in empowered learning as well, a goal that talks about removing the discrepancy between Indigenous and non-Indigenous, like in terms of achievement. And you see it here because we couldn't possibly be a healthy school community unless we are all present and all belong and all see ourselves in that community. There are concrete examples in here from across our schools. We are so thankful for all of the knowledge teachers and elders that continue to work with Sturgeon Public Schools. So thankful for Alexander First Nation, our closest neighbor that so freely invites us, comes out when we ask for support, and also that growing relationship where we're going beyond just that and we're being better neighbors in terms of coming to PD together. We're doing some cultural exchange through classrooms. I'm very thankful for that relationship. And I think we heard here at this table better than anything I could say here in terms of lived experience in classrooms. Yes.
Could Trustee Dwyer ask a question?
I guess my question was, and it kind of confused me a little bit. I was at an event at Alexander, and in the background, this was about 2 years ago, they were celebrating 600 graduates from high school. That number confused me. But I guess the way I looked at it, that's a great celebration, and they thought it was a great celebration. So my point was that there's got to be a lot of improvement in those numbers to make that happen.
Yes, Deputy Superintendent.
That's very exciting. And we are a part of that. We're a part of it in two ways. One, we have some students from Alexander that are here under an educational service agreement. We always have, what's our current number? 36. No, there's more than that. But that's including Camilla. So, we have a number of Alexander students, and we are celebrating their graduations. But they have numbers in some other school divisions, and they have their own school. And our part of their own school is this collaborative partnership. When we talk about professional learning, our teachers with their teachers with our teachers, I think that also then we can celebrate some of their graduation. But that's a small thing, but I like to feel like we're better neighbors. But that's when they talk about that kind of number, that is all their graduates. So in Sturgeon, in their own school, and they have some in other school divisions as well.
Thank you.
I'm still talking. So a little bit on the last goal, I've preceded a bit, but it is an evolution, I believe, of responsible leadership, because a big part of responsible leadership, we talked about community engagement and volunteer in school, and future readiness is made stronger with community engagement, volunteer in schools. And so there's actually a clear alignment, but this is going a little further, or a lot further. And some of the stats here from the province, we talk about parent involvement, high school completion. They're appropriate when we talk about future readiness, because more parents involved in education is one of the strongest indicators of future success. Of course, high school completion is an indicator. Then we've got some measures, as I mentioned, volunteering in schools, am I prepared for life outside? And now we're shifting, and even the community engagement has a big impact on some of the next work. The outcomes you've seen, data you've seen. I kind of want to focus on the strategy if I can get there from here. So does it even work with reflective summary? This is both an acknowledgement to connect to Alberta education that is talking a lot about future readiness, about career pathways, about trades and education, all those kinds of opportunities for kids. So there is that provincial dialogue that's going on. But I would say, the business community engagement, I felt quite clear in saying our kids need to be, connected to the real work now. They need to have life skills, regardless of whether next after high school is post-secondary, is job, is career. They need life skills. And we heard that even from the board when we were looking at the draft of this. And so this future readiness is a commitment to start earlier in our schools, to be clearer in our classrooms about what we're doing that prepares kids for the next step of their life. Yes, there is career connections. We do want to have significant career we want people to understand what's available in the trades. I know the board table has heard this before, but it's worth celebrating. The Building Futures program is a great example of very concrete now education. We have always had it, and we still will have great, you know, you're in class and you have construction class, and we do learn, and it's great. And you may have your own personal examples of learning something in a construction class that later you went on and built a deck. That's something I did. But what this is more impactful than that. It's not just understanding tools and what construction class does lots. I don't want to undermine that. But I want to highlight the uniqueness of partnering with a home builder in our community, having students come and live on site, take their core classes, and then follow directly tradespeople and do directly the framing and whatnot of a house. Even later, like they say, only about half students may continue on in that kind of work and half may not. But that level of exposure and interest can really help young people see, because they'll be working with trades. You know how many side conversations are going to happen with those tradespeople. We're trying to do something similar with aviation, where we have aviation certified instructors come in and talk with their kids and teach them ground school and look to take them up on sample flights and say, hey, this could be an exciting and evolving career. Those are excellent to highlight because they're clear and concrete. But we have asked, and they are in the conversation, our principals, to look at other connections. Is it time spent on a farm? Is it time spent? I heard of a young school that modeled after a village of like, you know, how to run as an elected official and how to be a policeman in that school and how to sell goods and buy goods and how to financially manage. And that type of activities within our school is captured in this school. So both career pathway and future readiness, but also life skills. We heard that. Young people need and continue to need life skills. And so that is how we've evolved the third goal of the Ed Plan. Worth taking time, looking through the partnerships. We're so thankful to everyone on this list and are open to anyone who might be listening. If anything that was said here sparked an idea, I'd like to have a partnership with Sturgeon Public in bringing kids out and learning alongside, we would welcome that. We are so thankful for all the partners that are on this list. We are absolutely stronger together. The end shows a little bit of the alignment. We support and are aligned with the Alberta strategic goals and also the assurance domains. I know a few years ago, I was really unpacking the 5 assurance domains. We believe as administration here, and I think we really went through that last year with the formation of the education plan, that we can capture student growth and achievement, teaching and learning, governance, local and societal context, learning supports, but align them with 3 clear goals that we can talk about and think about more easily in our schools, which is why we shifted from just doing all 5 to shifted to goals that cover these. Questions about strategic planning and budgeting, capital planning, we're directed to the website because it'll have the most current, once approved, information there that our public can go to. I think from a visual point of view, that's the plan, and administration is prepared to take any questions on the Ed Plan.
Thank you, Deputy Superintendent. So right now we'll go around questions for clarification. Trustee Pequin?
I have a comment.
Okay, comments are okay.
It is clear by our education plan that education has evolved. It is no longer 2 + 2 = 4, and you get to go to college or you get to go to university or you get to go to a trade. We now have to support all the children and the whole child, their mental health, with TCIS, with the role of education in Alberta is so far encompassing than more than just literacy and numeracy. Well, those are important and those are vital skills we need to teach our kids. We have to concern ourselves with safe and caring schools. We have to concern ourselves with getting the community involved, and it takes a village. And our education plan makes that clear. The mandate is not to just teach kids 2 + 2. The mandate is to raise citizens functioning whole citizens in whatever way that we need to support them with their mental health, with the teachers, with the social workers, with all of it. So as a trustee who has a budget for education, it doesn't take into the account our team and everybody in education's commitment and devotion to these kids. So I just want to say, great job. It is astonishing what we do with these kids on a whole cross-ministerial perspective, a whole child perspective, that we're not just getting kids ready for, we're trying to get them ready for life. We're trying to get them ready for all of the things. So I don't know why it's taken me 8 years. Like, teachers are truly, truly vital to raising our kids, to helping us raise good citizens. So thank you to the team. Thank you to the teachers. Thank you to the parents. Thank you to the businesses. Thank you to all of the experts in helping us raise citizens of this world. And it just hit me today.
Thank you. And Trustee Dwyer.
Thank you for your presentation. One thing I went to, and it was again a couple of years ago, was I've forgotten the name, where all the students get together down and they all compete in construction and video. What is it? Skills Canada. Just go. If anybody hasn't had a chance to go to that and see the skills that our students have built and are showing off at this event. And this is not no small event. It basically takes up the whole area of where the old arena used to be. See, look at that, my whole mind is gone. Expo Center. It's if you really want to sit back and understand what Jonathan just said, just sit back and sit on the stands and watch what's happening out there. And it's our students winning, some of them. It's a huge, like, it brings something to you. Go, holy crap, I didn't even know we did all this. Like, you know. Anyway, I needed to say that.
Thank you, Trustee Dwyer. Trustee Gibbons?
Thank you. So I just want to say, I love this report. And I want to say how it's been great that your team, you and your team, have found different ways to bring the feedback back to us at the board table to know and understand the needs and the desires for our students. I believe it was Trustee Buga who said it at a committee of the whole meeting, and she said it so eloquently, and I'm probably not going to say it as well. But it's our ed plan that drives our budget, right? And so which always made me wonder why it's the last thing we approve. But you know, this is, it's hitting our vision, that it's through well-rounded education. And yes, as Trustee Pequin said, that well-rounded education has grown, I think, to encompass a whole lot more. But that well-rounded education for students to be motivated and supported for their unique pathways to future success. And it does take a village. It takes the teachers, it takes the parents, it takes the community, it takes the student. And yeah, it shines through this. And the other thing that I also want to say is that what really impresses me with the report and your team is that when everybody knows about new curriculum's coming out, but you're actually aware of I don't want to call it a gap, but those students that they go from new curriculum to old curriculum, new curriculum to old curriculum throughout their schooling. And you're in touch with that, and you're forward thinking on that. how do we best support that? And bringing that feedback to us as well. So I want to say thank you. And like I said, I love this report.
I feel like I should have called for the motion because this is, I think we're all speaking in favor right now. So I might have to revise that a little bit. Trustee Buga.
Thanks. One more comment. Just as Trustee Gibbons mentioned, our budget is built on being able to do these things. And our budget has been tough, and yet our ed plan is substantial and it's robust and it's supporting kids from, like, I'm just looking through that list of partnerships on we know we can't do everything for everyone, but with these partnerships, we're finding, okay, we need some help here. We need some resources here. And despite budgets over the last 3-4 have been deficit budgets, we're still able to do this because we do have those community partnerships, as well as we have a team that's staying on top of what grants are available. We just got approved for the collegiate that's allowing us to do some of these fantastic things. It's paying attention to what's going on at the provincial level and where they're willing to support schools in their direction and making sure that we're on top of that, because this isn't coming out of instructional dollars. This is we're pulling from everywhere to make sure that we can still give these opportunities to our students. And I think it's phenomenal that the number of people that need to be paying attention and really checking the boxes all the time, because it is data driven. It's got to come back to us. It's got to be reported, and all of that comes together to actually give these opportunities, as well as the budget that we just passed. So just appreciation. Thanks.
I'm going to ask for a motion right now, please. Trustee Gibbons?
I would like to put forward the motion that the Board of Trustees approve the draft Sturgeon Public School Division Education Plan for the 2025 to 2028 as presented at the May 28th, 2025 Public Board meeting.
I'm going to go around and ask the question, but if you don't have anything to say, don't worry. Trustee Murray, would you like to speak for or against?
I will speak for, and since I didn't say anything previously, but I echo many of the sentiments that were given out. I would also like to say that I do like the newer format that we've taken on with the goals, and that it provides more of a continuity from year to year. So thankful for that. And good job to Jonathan and his team. Thank you.
Trustee Pequin?
I think I said it all.
Trustee Dwyer? Trustee Gibbons? Trustee Buga? I will only add one very brief comment, and it is, Jonathan, never apologize for speaking too much. Your passion is evident and wholly appreciated. You are wonderful, and I appreciate your passion for the education of our students. I also will be voting in favor, speaking in favor. All right, I'm going to call the question that the Board of Trustees approve the draft Sturgeon Public School Division's education plan for the 2025 to 2028 year as presented at the May 28th, 2025 Public Board meeting. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you so much. We've gone a little bit over on our time here, and I'm sure lunch is cold now, but it was well worth it. We will now take a recess to 1:15. Good afternoon and welcome back. We are going to jump right into 7.3 bylaw 01-2025, authorize the establishment of multiple voting stations within the subdivisions of Sturgeon Public School Division in cooperation with municipalities in Sturgeon County for the 2025 general election. Superintendent Warren.
Thank you, Chair. And I will, with that, I will turn it over to the Associate Superintendent of Corporate Services, because what you just said is what's going to happen for the next while. It's a lot of words.
Thank you, Superintendent. It's shorter than the last few, but this bylaw is just to establish that for the upcoming elections, we will have potentially more than one voting station in each subdivision. And according to the Local Authorities Election Act, we need a bylaw to allow that. So this will just be to get that completed.
Okay, and I will ask that the Board of Trustees approve bylaw 01-2025 to authorize the establishment of multiple voting stations within the subdivisions of Sturgeon Public School Division in cooperation with municipalities and Sturgeon County for the 2025 general election at the first reading in this meeting in order to authorize the establishment of multiple voting stations within the subdivisions of Sturgeon Public School Division in cooperation with municipalities for the 2025 general election. The Sturgeon Public School Division bylaw number 01-2025, a bylaw to authorize the establishment of multiple voting stations within the subdivision of Sturgeon Public School Division in cooperation with municipalities and Sturgeon County for the 2025 general election. Whereas Section 37(3) of the Local Authorities Election Act, RSA 2000, Chapter L 21, provides that the elected authority may pass a bylaw by June 30th of the year in which a general election is to be held, allowing the returning officer of the elected authority to designate more than one voting station for each subdivision. And whereas Section 73 of the Education Act, SA 2012, Chapter E 0.3 provides for the procedures for general elections held pursuant to this act are to be governed by this act and the Local Authorities Elections Act. And whereas the Board of Trustees of Sturgeon Public School Division may wish to designate more than one voting station within each subdivision where it is working both with the county and municipalities. Now, therefore, the Board of Trustees of Sturgeon Public School Division enacts the following. 1. The board authorizes the establishment of multiple voting stations within the subdivisions of Sturgeon Public School Division in cooperation with municipalities in Sturgeon County for the 2025 general election. Effective date 2. This bylaw shall come into force on the day it is passed. Pardon me. Do I call for the vote? Yeah. Okay. All in favor of, okay.
This term subdivision, what does that mean to us? I think I know, but
It's just the wards.
it's the wards, right? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions before we vote? All right. All in favor that the Board of Trustees approve bylaw 01-2025 to authorize the establishment of multiple voting stations within the subdivisions of Sturgeon Public School Division in cooperation with municipalities in Sturgeon County for the 2025 general election at the first reading of this meeting in order to authorize the establishment of multiple voting stations within the subdivisions of Sturgeon Public School Division in cooperation with municipalities for the 2025 general election. All in favor? Passed unanimously. Second time that the Board of Trustees approve bylaw 01-2025 to authorize the establishment of multiple voting stations within the subdivisions of Sturgeon Public School Division in cooperation with municipalities in Sturgeon County for the 2025 general election at the second reading. This meeting in order to authorize the establishment of multiple voting stations within the subdivisions of Sturgeon Public School Division in cooperation with the municipalities for the 2025 general election. All in favor? Carried unanimously. And now the third reading. That the Board of Trustees approve bylaw 01-2025 at this third reading of this meeting in order to authorize the establishment of multiple voting stations within the subdivisions of Sturgeon Public School Division in cooperation with municipalities in Sturgeon County for the 2025 general election. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, thank you. One more? Oh, for the love of Pete. I have to read that again?
Last page.
Okay, last.
3 of 3, just the last. third reading.
That the Board of Trustees approve bylaws 012025 at the third reading in this meeting in order to authorize the establishment of multiple voting stations within the subdivisions of Sturgeon Public School divisions in cooperation with municipalities in Sturgeon County for the 2025 general election. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay. 7.4, appointment of returning officer and substitute returning officer for the 2025 general election. Superintendent Warren?
Sure, and I will turn it over to the Associate Superintendent of Corporate Services.
Thank you, Superintendent. So this is just a requirement by June 30th that you have to appoint a returning officer and a substitute returning officer. So just in my absence, our executive director will take the place if something happened to me, but otherwise it will be who is appointed the returning officer.
Can I have someone read a motion or make the motion, please? Trustee Murray Elliott.
I move that the Board of Trustees approve Sean Nicholson, Associate Superintendent, Corporate Services, Secretary Treasurer, is appointed as Returning Officer, and Franco Maizano, Executive Director, Corporate Services, is appointed as Substitute Returning Officer for the purposes of conducting elections under the Local Authorities Election Act.
Would anybody like the opportunity to speak for or against? Seeing none, all in favor, hang on. I'll call the question that the Board of Trustees approves Sean Nicholson, Associate Superintendent Corporate Services, Secretary Treasurer, is appointed as Returning Officer, and Franco Mazzano, Executive Director Corporate Services, appointed as Substitute Returning Officer for the purposes of conducting the election under the Local Authorities Election Act. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Seven point five, authorization for agreements with municipalities in Sturgeon County for the 2025 general election. Superintendent Warren.
Thank you, Chair. I will turn this over to the Associate Superintendent of Corporate Services.
Thank you, Superintendent. Again, alignment of the Local Election Act. To enter into agreements with municipalities and county to do joint election. This will allow us to ensure that those going out to vote will only have to go to one place. We will do our best to get that arranged with each municipality. The county is already on board. We've talked to some municipalities. We're just waiting to hear back from a few. We just hope that we'll provide the most voter turnout coming election.
Can I have somebody make a motion, please? Oh, yes, questions. Trustee Murray Elliott.
Do we know where these voting stations are going to be? In the past, we've had election voting happening in Sturgeon Heights, but it's quite confusing for people because it's in St. Albert and they're in Sturgeon County. And so are we going to try to have people go to the same voting station that they would go to municipally?
So in terms of Sturgeon Heights specifically, it would have to be within our boundaries, so it actually can't be at the school, if that makes sense. But it will be the same place in the county, is what we're trying to achieve. And for your area, that will happen because the county's on board with supporting this. Yeah, I do not have the location just yet, but yes.
Can I have a motion, please? Trustee Buga.
I move that the Board of Trustees approve the authorization of the division to enter into an agreement with municipalities in Sturgeon County for the purpose of conducting the 2025 general election in accordance with the Local Authorities Election Act of Alberta. The division shall adhere to the bylaws and election procedures as established by each municipality or town with which an agreement is entered into.
Would anybody like to speak for or against? Seeing none, I'll call the question that the Board of Trustees approve the authorization of the division to enter into an agreement with municipalities in Sturgeon County for the purpose of conducting the 2025 general election in accordance with the Local Authorities Election Act of Alberta. The division shall adhere to the bylaws and election procedures as established by each municipality, town, or town with which an agreement is entered into. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, moving to 7.6, the Council of School Councils meetings. Superintendent Warren.
Oh, thank you, Chair. And this memo is coming forward as we changed a couple years ago to set this board as in your policy. It states that you will meet with all of the school councils, so school councils at least once a year. But you did go to 2 times, but just like in past years, we have moved this memo to this time because we want to make sure that those dates are in the calendars for our schools well ahead of time to make sure, especially the March one, because we want to make sure that we're away from parent-teacher interviews, et cetera, from spring break. So I will turn it over to the deputy to walk through the ask.
Deputy Superintendent.
Thank you, Chair. Not much more to add. We have 2 dates. That's what the ask is to consider. Would the board agree to approve by motion these dates to meet with the Council of School Council? We will come back with format. We will come back with ideas. This is simply to put it in calendar so everyone is aware.
Thank you. Questions for clarification? Seeing none, can I have a motion, please? Trustee Buga?
I move that the Board of Trustees approve that the 2025-2026 Council of School Councils meetings will take place in person on Wednesday, November 26th, 2025, and Wednesday, March 4th, 2026. Pardon me.
Thank you. Would anybody like to speak for or against? Seeing none, I'll call the question that the Board of Trustees approve that the 2025-2026 Council of School Councils meetings will take place in person on Wednesday, November 26th, 2025, and Wednesday, March 4th, 2026. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to 7.7, Policy 100, History of Sturgeon Public Schools. Superintendent Warren.
Thank you, Chair. So this policy is coming forward. It has been reviewed multiple times and going through the GTEC model. Just to let the board know with this policy, we actually don't have Legal Public School on there. None of the information is on there, even though it's been open for a couple of years because this is a policy. So we haven't been able to update the history because it's in a policy and that is yours. So hence it hasn't been updated. So the recommendation is that we're bringing forward is for this policy to be rescinded, and it would remain a standing item that's updated on the website.
Questions for clarification? Trustee Paquin.
So the history would then live on the website and potentially the trustee handbook, or just in the website?
Superintendent Warren.
The history has always been in like everywhere, like it's everywhere. It's just it also moved to a policy. So it's in multiple places, and it's, of course, it's important, our history. So we track it all the time, but it is on the website. And like I said, right now, it's just because it's in a policy that has to come to the board. And I would hope that we would make sure, and the board will always make sure that we have this up to date and that it's accurate because it's the history of the division.
Can I have a motion, please? Trustee Buga.
I move that the Board of Trustees rescind Policy 100's History of Sturgeon Public Schools.
Would anybody like an opportunity to speak for or against? Seeing none, I call the question that the Board of Trustees rescind Policy 100, History of Sturgeon Public School Division, or History of Sturgeon Public Schools. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. 7.8, Policy 235, Board Operations. Superintendent Warren.
Thank you, Chair. This is a policy the board has been looking at for quite some time. There's been some, not changes to the main policy as much in some things, but also like an appendix was moved into. So there's been some shift around. But just to clarify for the board, when a policy has an appendix, it's all one policy. It just, if it has appendices, then that's part of that policy, but I will turn it over to the Associate of Corporate Services to walk through the changes.
So lots of discussion on this policy, good discussion. Oh, I swear I hit it, sorry. Lots of discussion on this policy, lots of good discussion. A lot of things have been added or clarified, just like.
It turned off because someone turned theirs on.
Sorry, my mic keeps turning off. So yeah, there's been lots of discussion around this policy, good conversation. The majority of what's been added here is to further clarify expectations and procedures around things like subsistence travel, as well as professional learning and kind of what's required. Some things were like Appendix E, the technology was moved into the main policy. All the changes are reflective of an environmental scan we did across the division about what other boards are doing and what they have in their policies. And this is just hopefully set up to set the incoming board and the new election up for success. So,
Would anybody like to ask questions for clarification? Seeing none. Oh, Trustee Buga. Sorry.
It was really late in the game. I would actually like to propose one amendment to 36.2. Superintendent formal evaluation. If we can add the word facilitated formal evaluation as a qualifier, as opposed to in 36.1 where it's superintendent informal evaluation. The formal evaluation does have a facilitator just for per diem questions so that there's no, it's just very clear that if it's formal and facilitated, that's a per diem. I just know that there was some question about it in the past over the last 4 years. If that is, would that be a friendly amendment if everybody's on board with that clarifying word?
Trustee Murray Elliott.
So just for clarification, that's almost how you're differentiating between formal and informal, is if it's as a
Facilitated and non-facilitated.
yeah, that's fair.
Okay. Can I ask maybe Trustee Buga to make the motion as amended?
I can get back to the part of my page. Yep. I would move that the Board of Trustees approve policy 235 board operations with recommended changes as presented at the 2028-2025 public board meeting, with the understanding that all financial provisions outlined in the policy shall come into effect on September 1st, 2025.
Would anybody like to take an opportunity to speak for or against the motion? Trustee Pequin.
I would speak for this motion. We spent a lot of time and a lot of discussion on our compensation. As outgoing trustees, some of us who are not running for re-election, I think it's more appropriate for us rather than new trustees coming in who don't know what the workload is and don't know what to expect. But it's nice to have a clear, concise policy so new people running can know what part of what they're getting themselves into. So I am in support of this motion. We had a very fulsome discussion. I think it's fair for all trustees, and I think it's fair for new members who are joining this team in October.
Thank you. Would anybody else like an opportunity? Trustee Buga?
In addition to, I'm supporting the new changes that have been made to this policy. They also clarify much more about our public board meetings and what they look like in comments and question period. This year has been a challenge being online, being in person, having people wanting to ask questions and making sure that we have a really clear policy on what public board meetings look like and how the public can really engage, whether it's students or stakeholders from wherever, if they want to engage. It is now really clear on what that process looks like to make sure that they get in front of the board.
All right, seeing no other hands, I will call the question that the Board of Trustees approve policy 235, board operations with recommended changes as presented at the May 28th, 2025 public board meeting with the understanding that all financial provisions outlined in the policy shall come into effect on September 1st, 2025. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. 7.9, Policy 700, Appendix A, Evaluation of the Superintendent of Schools. Superintendent Warren.
Thank you, Chair. I will turn this over to the Associate Superintendent of Human Resources.
Doing the same thing. Lisa Lacroix, the Associate Superintendent of Human Resources. Administration conducted a thorough review of its policies referring to the GTEC model. The appendix to this policy has undergone thorough review and consideration. Review of policy 700 began in May of 2024 and has had 10 reviews of several iterations through previous board meetings, committee of the whole, and policy committee meetings to create the recommended version. On May 7, 2025, it was reviewed at the committee of the whole and recommended that the policy appendix be brought to the next public board meeting on May 28th for review and approval. A motion is required.
Questions for clarification? Trustee Pequin.
We are going to link the SLQS in the policy once it's live on the website.
That is correct.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, can I ask for a motion, please? Trustee Pequin.
I move that the Board of Trustees approve policy 700, Appendix A, evaluation of the superintendent of schools with recommended changes as presented at the May 28th, 2025 public board meeting.
Would anybody like to take an opportunity to speak for or against? Seeing none, I call the question that the Board of Trustees approve policy 700 Appendix A, evaluation of superintendent of schools with recommended changes as presented at the May 28th, 2025 public board meeting. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving to 710 in the agenda, policy 805, home education. Superintendent Warren.
Thank you, Chair. There's a lot of background information for you there. Home education is very clearly outlined. There is a regulation that's directly connected to the Education Act that outlines home education, and all of those documents are linked there for you. So the recommendation is that it's moved out of policy because just some history for home ed is that there's different ways that this can be done. If you do end up doing a blended, it could be that the kids are actually in school. So there's just different ways that you can do home ed, and remember, if it's parent directed, it's dollars in and out and the parents are running it. And so, yeah, so their information is all there and the recommendation is brought forward and it has been reviewed. So the recommendation is that it is no longer a policy, that it moves into an AP.
Questions for clarification? Seeing none, I ask for a motion. Trustee Buga.
I move that the Board of Trustees rescind policy 805, home education, and direct administration to manage home education programming through an administrative procedure. May I speak to it?
You may speak to it.
I would like to, as the trustee who has been sitting with our alternative learning, which is kind of the umbrella to home education, the removal of this policy does not in any way undermine the value of our home education families. They are part of Sturgeon, and it's always amazing to see the different situations that kids can learn best. And I think it's super valuable that it continues in Sturgeon. This is an effort to make sure that we are doing our job as governors, creating a policy manual that is succinct and really filling the responsibility as governance, and this policy just didn't fit into the program, but it certainly is going to be a valuable asset to our division going forward, or continue to be a valuable asset. That's
Is there anybody else who would like to speak for or against the motion on the floor? Seeing none, I will call the question that the Board of Trustees rescind policy 805, home education, and direct administration to manage home education programming through an administrative procedure. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Policy 810, off-site activities. Superintendent Warren.
Oh, thank you, Chair. This is another one. I mean, our offsite activities, we know that there are multiple ways we want our students to have authentic educational experiences, and that is what we do with our offsite activities. Very much so. We are guided by insurance. We are guided by the political landscape in the entire world, hence why we've done a lot of work, even on our AP, to define, you know, age appropriate. When would it be appropriate for kids to actually leave the country, that they're independent, a little bit independent enough that if something, there was a crisis, we could get them back. And also with travel, if there's travel advisories, we have to be able to switch very quickly. So that's why it's so important that, you know, in a policy, if there's anything in the policy, it might tie our hands, but the reasoning is there. Again, this was part of us looking at the GTEC model, what is more operational and what would be at the policy direction level. And I would echo exactly what Trustee Buga just said, that this doesn't take away from the value. We know the value. And I think that this board has watched our evolving administrative procedures on off-site activities for the last 4 years, because the team working with our schools, we've done a lot of work. And like I said, as our world changes, when travel might not be as safe at times, we have to be able to shift quickly and make decisions whether or not students should be traveling. Can we keep them safe? Because that is our job. So that is why we're asking that this remain as an AP.
Questions for clarification? Seeing none, can I call for a motion? Trustee Marie Elliott.
I move that the Board of Trustees rescind policy 810, off-site activities.
Would anybody like to speak for or against this motion? Trustee Dwyer.
A little confused, which is normal for me. The title off-site activities, and then we're getting into GTEC models and stuff like that. Someone help me out. Like, I don't see it, that title doesn't reflect it to me. Is that a crazy question or what?
No, I think it's reasonable. Would anybody on policy committee like to speak to it? Because I think I could, but all right. So the reason this policy has we agreed 2024 to move toward the GTEC model, which was provided to us by our provincial association, the Alberta School Boards Association. In part of that review, this particular policy that sits in the board's domain right now is better suited to sit in administrative practice, administrative procedures. So the policy is absolutely about offsite activities. Part of the background rationale for having it come forward to today is because we are moving toward the GTEC model. And so this would be better suited as an AP. Did I hit the nail on the head there? Okay, I'm getting some nods. That's good.
But where I'm confused at is, I guess I relate the GTEC model to our policies and us getting our policies in order.
Mm-hmm.
So why would that be an AP? That, like, I'm just trying to think, like, this is all about policies. And I see, you know, my understanding is policies is a big part of a trustee's role.
Absolutely.
In developing them, but we're going to say that it's an AP.
I think it's about who's better suited to make a decision on the topic. So previously, the board, back at the beginning of our days, the board would get at the beginning of a year, everybody's outline, like their business plan for an off-site trip, that maybe they were going on a band trip to Calgary, or the high school was taking a trip to Italy. And then we hit some times where travel was incredibly unsafe, and we had, you know, potentially given approval, then we have to rescind approval through board motion. And this is just simply saying that there are a lot of factors in play when planning off-site activities, whether it's Camp Nakamin or the Italy trip or the trip to Montreal. And administration being the overseers of our insurance, having direct communication with staff, they would be more better suited rather to make decisions whether the trip is advisable or not. Trustee Buga?
Thanks. And I think from what it looks like the current policy 810 is the Board of Trustees believes that offsite school sponsored activities enhance student learning and development. We had a lot of policies that were actually belief statements. And if we're looking to govern concisely, belief statements aren't policies. They belong in our vision, mission, and values. They belong in our handbook. There's a lot of spaces for those belief statements, particularly the handbook, I think, but they don't necessarily belong in a policy. And this is that the whole policy is that we believe that offsite school sponsored activities are valuable, and we delegate the superintendent to be responsible for them. So really, the board, it was a belief statement, and I still support that belief, but it doesn't belong in policy.
Okay,
is my
and maybe that's my confusion coming out, but I can understand that on offsite, but when you read through this, it reads more like a whole, and maybe it's just me.
Well, I can clarify that. Trustee Dwyer, would you like me to? So the reason we put you'll notice on any of the policies, even if we are bringing forward amendments or to recommend to the board that it be rescinded, that background, we left it the same on all of them. So it's to give you that reminder of when you're developing your policies in the checklist. So it's not that it's just to give that background information for that. So it's literally, it's almost copy and paste off every single one, because it was, what is the GTEC model, the definition of policies and stuff. So that might, because I know when you read, which one was it you read? Because you're like, why are we putting this on here? And it was just to give the background information when we pulled them apart.
Yep.
I don't know if that helps at all.
Do you have any other questions?
No.
Okay. Would anybody like to speak for or against this policy or the recommended motion? No, wait, have we got the motion yet? I think yes? Okay. Anybody speaking for or against? Okay, then I call the question that the Board of Trustees rescind policy 810 offsite activities. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to policy 815, outreach programs. Superintendent Warren, thank you.
Chair. This is very similar to home education. Again, the recommendation coming from admin, and it did go to policy committee and to committee of the whole to talk about it, that this is actually, I mean, it stands under all of our outreach programs. That's where home ed also sits, that it is operational. And so it's the same, very similar recommendation. And again, I'm talking about, it's because you value it. So as Trustee Buga stated it says, yes, you have a responsibility to ensure students have access to education as per the Education Act. It's defined in there. That's your job, to meet students where they are at. And so it's a very high level policy, which again, our outreach programs as we change them, because they are going to continue to evolve and change. We feel it does not fit the GTEC model for policies, and it already lives in a very clear AP. That is our recommendation.
Questions for clarification? Seeing none, can I ask for a motion, please? Trustee Buga?
I move that the Board of Trustees rescind policy 815 outreach programs, and I will reiterate the same thing I said last time, that I think our outreach programs are highly valuable, and I actually look forward to this not being in policy so that our administration team can actually be more flexible in making sure that we're suiting the needs of all kids without having to run it against a policy that we would have to approve and change.
Would anybody else like an opportunity to speak for or against? Trustee Gibbons.
I would like to speak in favor of this motion. As it has been said that, you know, eligibility and program requirements are defined in the by the government in the Ed Act, and this outreach programs designed and managed by the administrative level. So therefore it should be in an AP and not in a policy to provide that flexibility for student need.
Anybody else? Seeing none, I will call the question that the Board of Trustees rescind policy 815 outreach programs. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Finally, 713 policy 910 school resource officer. Superintendent Warren.
Thank you, Chair. If you go down, you'll see the rationale on this one. It is very similar to others. The board has had many conversations and policy committee, both at Cal and Public Board, about this policy. And at the time when this was adopted as a policy was during a climate when there were some questions about our school resource officer program in the province and some challenges. And at that time, the board of the day wanted to make a statement that you valued it. So, but the reason we are recommending this is not actually a policy is very similar to our other reasons. So with our SRO agreement, it's actually a tripartite agreement between us, Greater Sandbrook Catholic School Division, and the town of Morinville. And so it is an agreement that's worked on and negotiated and maintained by administration. And again, the board values this. We see big value in this. It's in all your other statements when you talk about your job in the Education Act, when you have to collaborate with your municipal partners, etc. This is this, right? It's just like our VITRA. Our VITRA is an agreement. So it's just recommended that it is not in a policy.
Any questions for clarification? Can I ask for a motion, please? Trustee Gibbons?
I put forward the motion that the Board of Trustees rescind policy 910 school resource officer.
Would anybody like to speak for or against? Trustee Marie Elliott?
I am for this motion, but as Trustee Buga has mentioned on some previous ones, I would like to clarify that this in no way, shape, or form shows that we lack any respect for this position. We appreciate having this partnership and hope it will continue in the future. And the purpose of this is just to clean up our policies.
I would reiterate that, wholeheartedly agree. The value of a school resource officer is in many ways immeasurable, and taking it out of board policy in no way diminishes that. Would anybody else like an opportunity to speak for or against? Seeing none, I'll call the question that the Board of Trustees rescind policy 910 school resource officer. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Administrative reports, 8.1 IMR CMR update report. Superintendent Warren.
Thank you, Chair. I will turn it over to the Associate Superintendent of Corporate Services.
Thank you, Superintendent. Our Director of Facilities isn't in today, so I will do my best to answer the questions. But I'm going to just explain a little bit why I wanted to bring this forward. So I'm trying to get to 2 or 3 facilities updates in a year. Our IMR and CMR years are different. So currently we are in the 24-25 IMR year and the 25-26 CMR year. So yeah, I know. So the CMR, so in this report, I'm just going to provide a little bit of a touch point and update on how the IMR funding is being spent, because we've gotten some projects in and some estimates, so we have a better idea of where those dollars are going to be sent. The total dollar has not changed from the last report on this, which you got in November, and the expenditures are exactly the same. It's the same attachment for IMR, so I'll go through those. In terms of the CMR, our CMR year just ended because it goes, it's on an April to March to match the fiscal year. We have some reporting due, so I have attached the expenses that will be submitted to the government based on that year. and then provide a little update on what we're doing over the summer here. Because there's been a little bit of just a shift in terms that we weren't able to get all the projects done. So we're going to be getting that done over the summer. So I'm going to go through the report real quick and just highlight the sections and what's changed and let you know what you need to know or not know. So kind of in here, just similar to last time, the report just has the information about the funding envelopes we have. We have updated the 25-26 based on the budget numbers there. So you'll see that IMR for the 25-26 year is 658,000 and then CMR is 871 for a total of 1.5. I will just with that information, we've highlighted before that in 21-22 was about 1.5. It decreased drastically, and now we're basically back at that same level, which is a little perplexing with the cost of increase in construction, things like that have gone on over that time. Moving down to page 3 of the report, which is just IMR. The total spend we are expecting to spend on IMR hasn't changed. The groupings of where it's going to be spent have just fluctuated a little bit. So you'll see like a little bit more on concrete and asphalt. That's just as we collected projects from schools and did assessments and got quotes in, things shifted a little bit. So we just wanted to provide you with that update about the work that's going to be going on. Moving on to page 4, CMR. So now that we're in the 25-26 CMR year, we are looking to spend about $1.4 million. That will leave us with a balance of just under $400,000 for the following year, or ending with, and then obviously our funding will add to that. Those are the projects areas we are going to focus on. So you'll just see through there that there's roofing replacement for 475, mechanical and system replacements. The majority of the projects that we did not get completed were the roofing ones that just carried over. That's why that number is a little bit larger. It was 1 million in the last report we provided, and it just went up to 1.4 because those roofing projects have to be done in the summer, so we weren't able to get them completed before kind of the March 31st deadline. As we move through this report, just in terms of IMR challenges, the same challenges have been presented as last time, obviously around aging of our schools, capital project approval, and funding constraints and cost increases, but we have added a potential impact of tariffs for a potential challenge, just depending on how the tariffs go and everything like that, how that will impact supplies that will come over the border or whatnot. So those kinds of things. Attached to this report is just the expenses we spent over the 24-25 year, which total $513,000, mostly in PA replacements, boiler replacements, some electrical system replacements, and building management systems, those kinds of areas. That's pretty much all I have for the update, unless there's any questions.
Trustee Dwyer.
Yes, that's right.
What did I say? In the past, it's been doing these projects and maintaining the funding from the government has been kind of mixed. How do you feel about that now?
Sorry. Yes, we have had a decrease in IMR CMR funding. I'm not sure. I think it was a political drive, obviously, to find some funds. We are returning to normal levels. Do I think that's enough? No, I think it's still underfunded in comparison to, like, if you look at this chart on page 1, you know, 5 years ago, we were getting 1.5 and now we're getting 1.5 and there's been cost increase. So we're again expected to do the same with less, which is not an easy thing to do. I will say though, just through planning, proper planning and focusing our dollars on, you know, getting to those root problems, I would say we are seeing an improvement in our buildings and facilities in terms of not having to put out so many fires, if that makes sense. But that's also difficult to maintain with the lack of funding or inadequate funding to match. But yeah.
So
go ahead, Joe.
So are we planning this IMR, the capital side of it, in a way that, sorry if I say it wrong, but in a way that we feel we're gonna get the money for. Cause I know when we put everything that's needed down there, a lot of it gets turned down or whatever, but I believe personally, when we do plan, we plan because it's needed. It needs to get done. Our facilities are old and that type of thing. I just want to get this kind of the theory of what we're thinking here. Are we trying to plan around what we think we might get, or?
Yeah, so yes, there is some planning with, as we're planning out for the next 5 years, we're planning on funding being maintained at the same level. So that's what we're doing to plan out our 5 years and our future projects. Obviously, if there's a decrease in that, that's going to have a huge impact. I would tell you, in this world, if the government came and gave us $2 million, we could find to spend $2 million because of a need out there. We really have to assess what is a priority, what's at the end of life cycle. I say we have made improvements, but that doesn't mean everything is perfect. We do have still some boilers that, need to be replaced, and we're looking at focusing on, and emergent things do come up because there's just not the funding to stay on top of everything.
Yeah.
I would say that it's why it's important for us to have a strong capital plan and push those projects forward, especially at a time when there's appetite from the government, because the more approvals we can get with new buildings, the more I can use these dollars to support our other buildings that won't be on the capital plan just because of, criteria constraints. So that's why I would say administration has been pushing the capital plan and getting those projects approved and through, because it saves us a lot of work on this end, and in terms of the staffing, and just old buildings are hard to maintain.
Yeah, I bring up these questions because I think there's an advocacy here that's needed in our division, especially in probably all divisions, but in rurally, we're maintaining very old buildings, and we're just trying to cover the needed basics in a sense. So I think thank you, but it's, there's a level of advocacy that's important to us here that's needed.
Trustee Murray Elliott.
Thank you for this report. I do believe our O&M department is heading in the right direction with their desire to be more proactive. However, the money isn't always there to support that. So I know we did strike a committee with the purpose of preparing a position statement to advocate for increased funding for keeping our schools in good shape, to reduce our huge deferred maintenance, which I think was around $50 million. It's probably a little higher than that now. I'm a little disappointed that this committee was unable to go ahead, but there have been a lot of distractions and things. So I just hope that in the future, perhaps in the fall or with the new board, that there will be a committee that will put together a position statement for the government on the importance of increasing some funding for our older schools, because I think they are in good shape and they just need to be kept in good shape rather than let them crumble beneath us.
One question, I guess it's a question for me. We used to have, or we have had in the past, facility audits that were funded by the provincial government. The last one, I believe, was 2018. Has there been any movement by the federal or provincial government to potentially conduct those again?
So yeah, there was some discussion and we've reached out. However, we haven't heard anything back quite yet. They did say they were moving forward, and we did try to put, I think, Lillian Schick on the top of that list. But it seems to be right now government is slow moving. Just as an example, we actually haven't heard when a kickoff meeting is going to start with Morinville announcements. So we will continue to push and keep asking those questions, but we're waiting to hear from government. If it does not happen, then it is something we will probably have to add to our use of IMR funds to look at doing.
Thank you. Superintendent Warren?
Yeah, and I just want to clarify again for the board, as you know, just with the shifts and changes, how the school accelerator program, we have very old buildings. this is an issue. And so this is why we're really looking at, you know, you have your first and second priorities on your capital plan. We are looking at all of our buildings now. Many of you were at that certain presentation when you saw that a school division was able to get schools. We, as you know, a newer school might actually help some of our older buildings greatly. And so we're really looking at that, because if they can be approved at any time of the year, then we need to keep looking at our older buildings, because you are correct, it is difficult to maintain them, especially as things get so expensive. So that is how we are looking at that. And that is it is a positive shift, because the fact that it can be at any time of the year and they're looking for shovel ready, it actually opens the doors instead of you just wait for once a year and sit there and wait. So that is where we're trying to put our efforts now, because if that's way, and it will save us money as you support, it'll save you money as well. And is also what's in the best interest of our kids, because we want safe learning environments too, that are actually conducive to great learning. So.
Trustee Pequin?
With all of that being said, because we've had announcements for pre-planning and whatever else, we are still maintaining those schools and keeping them, like, because these projects are potentially 3, 4, 5, 6 years. Like, if Gibbons needs, well, they just had a boiler, but if they need something, like, they're getting it. We're still maintaining the schools we have, hoping in the future to get new buildings to cost us less, but we're not just pushing those off to the side, and too bad for you. They will still get the maintenance that they need.
Trustee Dwyer?
And yes, but I also want to say on there, I don't, you know, from what I've understand for last year, we're patching roofs. We're not fixing them, we're patching them. And that's a dangerous aspect of, as far as I know about, you know, buildings. Anyways, I just wanted to mention that.
So we have had a roofing consultant come in and assess all our roofs, and we do have a roofing plan to replace sections and do more than move away from that patching piece. There are times when, you know, when it's emergent need, you have to patch it. But you'll see that's why there's about $450,000 being spent on roofs, because we're doing major sections. And to the point of maintaining the buildings that have been improved, yeah, we're still looking at that, and we will take everything we can out of those buildings that are still viable to use in the other buildings before they're demolished.
Trustee Murray Elliott?
Well, and all that being said, we have had some announcements, which is fantastic. So I'm hoping administration is quickly coming up with new number 1, number 2, so that we can get them in the queue and maybe get more announcements.
Is the hope. All right, seeing no other questions, thank you. 8.2 Communications Report, April and May 2025. Superintendent Warren.
Thank you, Board Chair. I'll turn it over to the Deputy.
Deputy Superintendent.
Thanks, Chair. Administration's pleased to share a summary of some of the work that the communications team has been doing. Another series in the highlighting of staff expertise is out. I hope you've seen some of that. There was also some clarification work, I would say, or important communication work. It's always important communication work. That sounded all wrong. Around, you know, the shift in pre-K, we are continued and are dedicated to getting the services that those young children need, and our path forward will do that. But it is a shift from what we've done, and so some of the communication was trying to help parents understand what's going on in that area. Also, I know you're well aware of what therapeutic crisis intervention is and what it can look like in a classroom, what an exit interview looks like, and all those things, life-based. Anyways, the point here is we want our parents to understand a little bit what it means to be therapeutic, not therapeutic, trauma-informed, and how to create safe things, and how we work with young people that are coming from a trauma background, because it does look a little different. And if we're not aware of that, then we don't see the intentional and deliberate work that teachers, counselors, support workers are doing with children. And then we have an uninformed reaction to the support that's happening. And so that was part of the key there. I think it's also super important to always promote bus safety, being a rural division. That's critical to keep our kids safe. Or take any questions to the report?
Trustee Vuga?
I'll take the race, but not the responsibility. Thank you for the report. I really like seeing the communications report. Just anecdotally, I have recently stopped being on social media, so I haven't seen a lot of the campaigns anymore. So I appreciate it being here. But I do still, as a parent in the division, I get the emails through Power School. And so the targeted one, the TCIS one that just came out, some of those targeted messages, it's really great that we are using multiple avenues because not everybody is everywhere, and some don't check their emails and some don't check their social media, and there's got to be a lot. So I really appreciate that things are coming from different directions and I don't feel bombarded, or because that's also, you don't want anyone to tune out. So I think that we've been doing a really good job balancing multiple approaches and putting those targeted, really important pieces into different spaces as needed. So I assume that there's some sort of a tracking thing on where things are going and how many people are reading them and stuff. So great job to the very small team that I know that does this work, because I find that it is effective as a parent.
Deputy
Just a
Superintendent.
quick follow-up. I appreciate that feedback and we'll take it to the communications team. It is, to strike a balance is very hard and very important. And I appreciate that. I heard a positive response to some of the directive emails. That's the one that can people can say it's too much, if I may. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Superintendent Warren.
Yeah, and just to remind the board, I believe I put that in the superintendent report just about that with TCIS. Remember, this has been a plan of ours because student advisory, what did we hear back? And when we did the parent engagements last year, what did we hear back from parents? So we needed them to understand therapeutic crisis intervention in schools and understand that actually we do have roles and expectations and there are consequences. If you remember all that, what students want it back. So we actually have a whole framework and actually a timeline. And now there'll be messages each month that will go out next year. We'll be updating our website so that we try to find multiple ways to get that so that everybody understands, and then looking at students. So it's tiered, it's organized, and starting next year, this is going to be a month by month. I will start to add it to things that I write also, because again, this is what we heard back from our students and our parents, that they had a perception and we realized that it was because we weren't communicating out what we needed to. So.
Thank you very much. Number 8.3, superintendent's report. Superintendent Warren.
Thank you.
Seems reasonable to give it to you.
So again, for trustee, for the board's information is my monthly report that is included there as information.
Questions, comments? It was a busy month. Trustee Murray Elliott.
When trustees give their reports, we get to say one thing that really stood out to us. So I think, not to put you on the spot now, but in the future, I would love to hear what really stood out for you from your.
Oh, absolutely. I would love to do that.
Just one.
Just one. Did you read my report?
I did read your report.
No, that's the
why you
hard
got one.
part. That's the hard.
So here's what I'm going to say. Over the last month and dealing with budget, this has been hard. And after being in public education for 33 plus years, it's been hard. And sometimes I believe it was our Brady here who said it. When you look for things, they're there. And I was delivered the gifts that I needed in the moments to remember my why throughout this whole month. And so it was unbelievable. So getting connected with Unplugged, looking at the data that's in the anxious generation, hearing our parents waking up to realize we need to do something, looking at our fine arts, the showstoppers, looking at whether it's Sturgeon Night of Music, how our programs, listening to our drumline, Kyle going around and recruiting our junior highs and how it's expanding, and our careers. Like the business engagement, it's the first time the feedback back from them. So I would say it is, because that is our job. And what is the biggest thing for this month is realizing when we do reach out and ask for help, if we are open and transparent and we're talking about things, when people come together, it's amazing how you can move things forward. And that has given me hope. So you read from the desk of the superintendent, when I talk about, we all need hope. And I think that this month I was very fortunate because I had some things land at the right times to make me remember my why. And it's all thanks to our parents. It's thanks to our staff and our community partners who have stepped up to really want to work with us. And yeah, so it's fun to see things come to fruition when you bring the right people to the table. Thank you for that question.
Okay, and we will move into reports from trustees and standing committees. I will go first with the chair's report. It's available for you in online. But I do want to highlight a couple of the a summary of the month. So as superintendent already mentioned, budget April and May are very hard, and especially when it's a have not budget, it's even harder. And we spent a lot of time. I think I calculated somewhere in the range of 24 hours working through that, and it was not always fun. But there are three things I wanted to point out that really kept me going. The first was our long service awards. I thought I've been with the division since 2010, and I thought it was one of the best events we've ever had. It was so nice to actually get to talk to everybody, meet new people. It really filled my cup. Today's presentation, I was so moved by that presentation. It will live with me for a long time. So, and as I said, again, budgets are hard, and it's hard to have this meeting where we have to pass a budget that is as challenging as it is. But, you know, having that little bright spot today was something to hold on to. And finally, being part of the collegiate announcement was, first, it was somewhat disorganized, not on our part, but just hearing all the people who are involved in that project speaking their gratitude was really, really heartwarming. I couldn't stop smiling, and was able to thank Minister Nicolaides directly on behalf of the board and students of our division. So that was a pretty big highlight for me. I will go to my right and ask Trustee Buga for her report.
Thank you. Yeah, the month got way away from me. I'm usually very good at getting my report in on time, and I did not do so, but I will get it done and into the minutes so that it's online as well. Some of the things just from May was the fine arts celebration at Sturgeon Comp. Again, this is the second year with that new format of really highlighting our fine arts in a different way so that all parents and all students can come out and enjoy their artwork. The wind spear was a bit prohibitive for people to come to look at artwork and then drive back sometimes an hour away. I thought it was really a great showcase again. We had the STEAM games, which was phenomenal. I got to judge that again. The Sturgeon Night of Music was beautiful. We had the Long Service Awards. I went and saw Four Winds performance of Beetlejuice, and attended the Edwin Power Awards for first-year teachers. So lots of celebrations this month. And again, at this time, to remember your why when you're going through difficult conversations and difficult decisions at the board table, because our job is governance and budgets and policy, and it's not always really blue sky, but maybe that's why all of these celebrations are timed at this time, to make us really stressed and crazy, but then also to remind us of why we are here. And it was fantastic. It was a very, very busy month, but meaningful for sure.
Trustee Gibbons.
I don't know that I could pick one highlight from May. Yeah, they like Lanning Trail had their art show on May 8th, and I just have to say that those kindergarten kids can draw and paint better than I can. But it was the gym was packed with people, and they had they did a mural. Every student participated in making the mural. Yeah. And then on the 15th of May, I went and watched the provincial drumline competition at the high school. And
And thank you for sending me a video.
I thought, oh, there's some pretty tough competition here. Some pretty good. We pulled it off. We got first in the concert, or where they don't move, and then first place in the one where they have the choreography. So yeah, the concert one I think was their junior drum line, and then their senior drum line was the ones that moved in. Incredible. I'd have probably fallen and tripped somebody with the drum. And then the Edwin Parr Awards night. Great to see our person there, but it just kind of resounded the wonderful first year teachers that the province of Alberta has. So yeah, that was it for me.
Trustee Dwyer.
Well, I kind of had a tough month, but I did go to the Night of Music, and that was the first time I went to that. And I know who, but that was the first time I went to that. I was just totally amazed. Just totally amazed. Especially those little kids and doing their choir stuff. Anyways.
I'm so glad you got to experience it.
Yeah. And then we had our parent council last night, which was really rough. Probably anything that happened there is probably more my fault than anybody else's, but it was a tough meeting. And yeah, but we do have a group, even though they take some things and speculate. We do have a group that's ready to go after the government on charter schools and that type of thing. And well, I'll be honest with you, when River Kabar gets going, that's a very strong vocal group, and they definitely attack it hard, and they will. And that's one thing they said last night. They even had a little meeting, about 8 of them afterwards, how they're going to proceed with this. So in a way, it's all good. And again, budget time is tough, but and parents are, tough place, so they care. So things are going to come out of their mouths, and they maybe shouldn't sometimes, but they're going to say it, and they're going to go after it, and that's good for them. That's the way it should be. But that's about all. And then my regular, I had to get on by virtual there from the hospital that time. That's all I could do, but I didn't want to miss the budget, and it was well presented and that type of thing. So it's just been a tough month for me, but that's basically what happened.
Well, and anytime the board can cooperate with parents on advocacy, I think we go a whole lot farther than each of us alone. But yeah. And thank you. Appreciate your efforts to make it to the meetings, even though things were very challenging for you this month. Trustee Pequin.
First and foremost, for me for this month, I would like to thank Alberta Wildfire, Sturgeon County Fire Departments, all of the surrounding communities who came out and helped battle the wildfire near Redwater. Now, our town was under alert, but not really at risk. I'm grateful to the senior team and administration and everybody to keep our kids and our kids safe, and the communication out to parents. It was not ideal to close the school for 4 days, but being that they wanted the town evacuated within an hour should things have spread, parents were very understanding that we don't really have the capacity to evacuate over 400 students in that town in a timely and safe manner. So putting our kids first, putting our town first. I mean, it sucked to sit at home because we were under an hour evacuation notice, but I did pivot to online for some things. But thank you to all of the first responders who got that fire under control and kept our town, barring one family, the community safe. So that's my moment of gratitude. I mean, I did attend other things, but that's my not highlight of the month, because I don't want to do that again. But
Trustee Murray Elliott.
Yes, this is a tough time of year, always. I feel very fortunate to have been involved and present in many activities such as STEAM Games and the Long Service Awards and Sturgeon Strides and Edwin Parr ceremony, but I just want to share one special moment that happened for me. And that was at our volunteer tea, which happened after Sturgeon Comp Band was in at our school at Sturgeon Heights. So at the Sturgeon Heights volunteer tea, when I was at one of the tables, the mother was telling me about the evening before when she was at the performance of A Little Princess, which was the musical theater, and how her grade 1 daughter saw me and pointed me out and informed the mother, which I know quite well, that that's Trustee Trish, and I know her and she knows me, and I met her when she was in the school. And the mother thought this was very cute. I thought it was adorable. And this is the exact thing that I am really going to miss when I am no longer in this role.
You're gonna make me cry, Trish.
She's just.
I'm very emotional today. Hopefully, even though you won't be a trustee next year, you'll still be in that school doing all of the awesome volunteer things. Both of our committee of the whole reports are available for your review. Oh, I don't know what it is about today. 9.4 policy committee report, Trustee Pequin.
We have nothing to report at this time.
Thank you. Position statement committee report. I think that this committee may have nothing to report, and you've reached your end of your mandate for this year. Okay, 10 reports from special committees, task groups. 10.1 Alberta School Boards Association representative, Trustee Gibbons.
Thank you. So there was a Zone 2-3 meeting on the 23rd of May. Action items that came out of that were, if position statements, the due date for that is June 11th. So they have to be at the zone by, no, they have to be at the zone by June 11th to be put forward June 20th. So yeah, we don't have enough. I'd forward everybody the 2 position statements. There's one from Black Gold. That was newer. To take a look at what else happened.
Was there an emergent one, Trustee Gibbons?
Sorry, I'm trying to find the right email. There is how do you word it? The policy committee for ASBA, I don't know, PDAC, is it PDAC? So it might not be policy committee. They are putting forward I guess it would be considered an emergent statement to be brought to the spring general meeting, so that it can be, I was a little confused.
Okay,
And they gave me no paperwork.
The good news is I just got registered to be the voting delegate, so you can help me through that when the time comes.
They did, I gotta find it. They did have PD. And I shared it with the board chair, her contact information, and the superintendent. It was called Transition from Candidate to Colleague, Working Together After the Election. No, that wasn't it. That's one of the things she does. It was conflict.
Yes.
Anyway, it was good. I attended online, so they didn't have mics in the room. So there was discussion going on in the room that you couldn't hear what it was, but the presenter would answer the question. So that was a little off-putting, but her message was really good. Yeah, I think it would be a good, PD for new board, not that first year, but down the road.
Conflict resolution.
Conflict resolution, that's what it was. They,
Transitioning from candidate to colleague, working together after the election, conflict resolution. So you were right.
okay. They are having a zone 2-3 meeting in June. It will be on the 20th because that's when position statements have to be voted on at the zone level. The fall general meeting for ASBA for 2025 will be November 16th to 18th. Edmonton Catholic brought forward a concern that they were supposed to receive 52 modulars, and out of the 52, they're getting 4 that were supposed to come the end of May, but now they're not coming the end of May because of the economy and tariffs. So they asked if they could partner with the builders, and we're told no. They have a contractor out of BC that are building the modulars because they knew somebody that was Southern. Fort McMurray Public had even said the same thing. They had reached out to say, could we do almost like a P3 in that the people that build the camps up in Fort McMurray, could they build their modulars? And they were told no. So boards are coming with potential solutions, but they're not being received. So it's a little concerning when it comes to build, but let's just keep pushing forward and hopefully. Oh, and then there was a trustee, he was from Barhead. They had is it at the design stage where you get this is how much it's going to cost? Or is that at the?
Yeah, so in the design phase, that's where they go into doing cost estimates and determining how much everything's going to cost. Yeah.
Okay, so they had that completed, but it's been 2 years now to move them into planning, and it has doubled in the cost of what they had. So they won't they don't think they'll get it. So yeah. And then I think the only other thing to touch on is that Evergreen Catholic had put forward, to which I forwarded on, but it was in regards to the reserve that ASEBP has. But I recall having a discussion around the board table when Liliana was here about that, because we had been questioning that. And the representative from Elk Island Catholic had indicated that his understanding was that because it's a reserve for us, but we can't use the money. And his understanding was that was for any big payouts that they had to make. So there's some questioning still with ASCBP. And yeah, that was it. Oh, what does everybody feel about the ASBA budget? Because we will have to pass this budget at the spring general meeting. Okay, which we will do in camera. Thank you.
10.2, Public School Boards Association of Alberta Representative Trustee Marie Elliott.
Sorry, I forgot I'd have to. I don't think there's anything to report except that the SGM is occurring June 3rd to 5th.
Thank you. 10.3, Rotary Report, Trustee Dwyer.
everybody. Let me say it again.
Uh,
Anyways, they're involved, Interact Group's involved in, they're donating back to the community, they're raising funds, they're working with us on opportunities. We're looking at, Rotary is looking at getting again into exchange program, which would be huge for one of our students in the area. It's about a 40 grand bill though. I think I mentioned this once before, but I'll mention it again. And the other thing I'll mention again too is that the RCMP, Sergeant Darcy McDonald, and the SRO, Travis, that was his name, I can't remember, are running that program at River Kabar. And I know I mentioned this before, but that's huge for about 30, I would imagine it's going to be close to 30, 33 of our students from the Morinville High End and Sturgeon. So that's a huge thing. It's a big thing for students and that to be able to go to that. So there's lots of involvement with schools and it's doing well.
Yes, always grateful for our partnership with Rotary. They provide a lot to our students. 10.4 Chamber of Commerce meetings. I know I haven't attended, Trish. No? Okay. All right, thank you. 10.5 Community Services Advisory Board. Our rep is not here today, so we will move on. 11 Unfinished Business. Seeing none. Question and comment period. Are there any questions from the group? Yes, we do need a recess. We're having an issue with the reading of it. Can we come back in 5 minutes, please? Everybody online, please just wait for 5 minutes. We will be right back. Hi, good afternoon. Welcome back. We were just having a little bit of technical difficulties in seeing all the questions. Many of the questions were submitted by Michelle. I would ask Michelle at this time, if any of those questions, if you feel that any of those questions were not sufficiently answered through the duration of this meeting, please email me directly, Tasha Otway-McClay, Board Chair, and I will forward them to the appropriate individual for clarification and answers, and you will be emailed back. I hope that is sufficient. I don't think we could answer all of these questions at this time anyways. So thank you very much, Michelle, for all of your questions. Many of them are very good questions, and hopefully we'll have answers for you promptly. All right, on to number 13 in camera. Can I request a motion to go in camera at this time? Trustee Gibbons, thank you very much. We are now in camera.